Chapter 236. Lone Moon conjured a seal and used a sliver of immortal chi to scan the withered yellow flower. That aura has already disappeared. It must have been used up when I attacked the radish. Vegetation immortal herbs are the easiest to infect the surrounding aura. I Ching said. This flower was placed on the windowsill. It must have been accidentally infected with Xian Tong's aura when he kidnapped her. But I've never seen this aura before. Lone Moon's brows were knitted into a dead knot. No wonder Lan Hua couldn't say anything just now. This aura is indeed strange. It's not immortal chi, nor is it devil chi. Furthermore, it's so gloomy and cold. Just now, he only felt a cold and gloomy aura instantly fill the entire room. Moreover, just a wisp of remnant aura was enough to repel Radish. Although Radish was a vegetation spirit, its cultivation was not low. From this, it could be seen how powerful the person who took Xian Tong away was. As far as I know, no one with such an aura has ever appeared in the immortal world. Chen Gu paced back and forth anxiously. Could it be someone from the demon world? No. Lone Moon shook his head, denying his guess. If there really is such a person in the demon realm, Shening would have met him when she entered the gate of the demon realm with your mental demon. She would not have waited until now to appear. Moreover, Little Black would not dare to release someone to capture the disciples of Invincible Sect. Then what exactly is this? Everyone was silent. They couldn't figure it out even after thinking for a long time. One by one, they unleashed their sorcery in an attempt to track that aura, but it was useless. Even Feng Ying's system tried it, but it was to no avail. Lone Moon was a little irritated. Is there really no one who knows what this aura is? There's someone. Shening thought for a moment and suddenly said, he definitely knows. Who? Just as Lone Moon was about to ask, someone pushed the door open and entered. Scanning the room, he said, Exalted Goddess, I'm back. The Demon King smiled ingratiatingly. That sky fiend called Lan Hua's injury is nothing serious. I've already helped him regulate his breathing. He'll be fine after a few days of rest. Oh. Shening nodded and suddenly smiled brightly. You've worked hard. Little Black trembled violently and subconsciously took a step back. Exalted Goddess. If there's anything you need, tell me. Don't smile at me, okay? My legs go soft when you smile. Extremely soft. Blackie. Yes. Let's make another vow. The kind where we have to meet the demon god. Little Black. Lone Moon. I Ching. The spectators who didn't know the truth. Honestly, Exalted Goddess, do you not like Blackie anymore and want to change to another demon? 5 minutes later. Exalted Goddess, what kind of oath do you want to make this time? Last time, it was dumplings. This time, it should be mooncakes, right? What's wrong? Is there a problem? No. Yes, Exalted Goddess. No problem, Exalted Goddess. Therefore, a clear oath was instantly heard in the Bo Si Celestial Palace, and instantly spread across half of the heavens beyond heaven. Oath of Heaven, Demon Dao Venerable God, King of the Demon World Li Yin, hereby swears by the demon spirit, to follow the laws of heaven and earth, to obey the rules of the great Dao. Tonight, I must let Exalted Goddess Shening eat the 5-kernel mooncake. If I violate this oath, I am willing to bear the heavy punishment of the demon god. Sigh. I'll get used to this shameful thing after doing it. Chef, give me the egg yolk mooncake. Yes, master, no problem, master. 5 minutes later in the divine realm, the god fiend. Could he use a different method to summon him next time? And a certain ancient god frowned. He looked at the person opposite him and asked, Have you finished eating? She had been eating for 5 minutes. Wait. Shening swallowed the last half of the mooncake. She was in a hurry and choked. She coughed a few times. Finally, I Ching, who was beside her, hurriedly handed her a cup of tea. Only then did she swallow it. Dusting off the mooncake crumbs on her hands, she waved at the person opposite her. Hello, Mr. Godfiend. He was not feeling well at all. Why did you ask that little demon king to summon me? I have something to trouble you with. Shening pulled out the withered flower from her waist. Do you know what the aura in this flower is? The god fiend looked at the flower in her hand. He was still smiling faintly and nodded. Of course I know. What is it? The god fiend scanned the 3 of them. After a moment of silence, he said, "You want to find the child that was born from the mental demon. You know where Xiantong is?" Lone Moon could not help but ask anxiously. "Of course." The god fiend smiled. "I am one of the 3 ancient gods who created the world. I know everything that happens in the 3 realms. Then. But I can't tell you that." "Why?" Lone Moon hesitated. "Didn't they talk about it quite excitedly the last time?" "I said it the last time. I have long left the 3 realms. I cannot actively interfere with the affairs of the living beings in the world. Otherwise, there will be more chaos." The god fiend sighed and continued. "The child that was born from the mental demon, although it was only a remnant of someone else's soul in the beginning, now it has already given birth to a new soul. It is already one of the complete living beings in the 3 realms. She has her own fate. That is why I cannot tell you." "Bullshit." Lone Moon did not like the god fiend from the start. Now he was even angrier. "You pulled us into this world back then. Didn't you attack?" There was also Hui Ling's matter. Hui Ling did not give birth to her own soul. Of course she does not count. "But you come from another world. You are not from the 3 realms. Anything that happens to you has nothing to do with the 3 realms." "Damn it, this little bitch." Lone Moon's expression darkened. Suddenly he thought of something. His eyes lit up. "According to what you said, I am not from the 3 realms. So you can tell me these things? Anyway, it does not count as you interfering." The god fiend was stumped. "It did not work that way. You said it yourself." The god fiend shook his head. "Telling you is no different from me directly interfering. What's more?" He suddenly turned to look at I Ching. "You are not. He is a native of the 3 realms." I Ching was stunned. He suddenly raised his hands and covered his ears, pretending not to know anything. "Aya, I can't hear you." "Lone Moon." "Shining." The god fiend. "Do you think I am blind?" Cut the crap. Just tell me your conditions." Shining took a step forward. If he really did not want to interfere in this matter, he could have just not responded to Little Black's oath. Why did he drag the 3 of them here? Who would believe that he did not have any ulterior motives? The god fiend paused. The smile on his face deepened. "There is indeed a small matter that I would like to ask Shining for a favor." "Speak." He took out a piece of mooncake and continued eating. "I want you to help me find someone." The god fiend's expression darkened. A hint of genuine worry flashed across his eyes. "Recently, I have not been able to sense her presence. Perhaps you can help me find her." Chapter 237. Shining glanced at him, a little surprised. "Your lover?" The god fiend's mouth twitched. After a while he said, "You're mistaken. She's Mengpa." "Mengpa?" Lone Moon exclaimed. His eyes widened. "You mean, the Mengpa from Mengpo's soup?" "Soup." Shen Ying's eyes lit up. "Which soup?" For all. "Shut up." Lone Moon glared at her. "If you drink that soup, you'll lose your memory. It's for you to use before you reincarnate." Did she have any common sense at all? Don't get all spirited the moment you hear about food. Oh, amnesia. The fiend celestial was taken aback as he thought of something. He smiled and said, "That was just a joke Granny Meng made. The so-called Granny Meng soup is just water from the river of forgetfulness. The river of forgetfulness can cleanse a person's soul, allowing all living beings to return to their original state. The past will naturally dissipate. Whether you drink it or not, you'll have to enter the river of forgetfulness." Lone Moon. Shit. So this was the meaning of Mengpo's soup? He felt that in those love stories, the couples who promised not to drink Mengpo's soup were all *king retarded. Like me, Mengpo is one of the 3 ancient gods who split open the sky. The god fiend explained in a deep voice, Mengpa, and the god of creation created the 3 realms from the chaos. Granny Meng is in charge of the river of forgetfulness and controls reincarnation. I am in charge of light and controls order. And the god of creation creates everything in the 3 realms. You're in charge of light? Lone Moon paused. Aren't you a god fiend? Are you kidding me? Demon god is just a name given to me by the demon clan. He still had that smiling expression, just like how Mengpa used to call him River of Forgetfulness. You said you were looking for Mengpa? What happened to her? I suddenly can't sense his existence. The god fiend sighed. He and I were born because the god of creation created the sky. She was the embodiment of the river of forgetfulness, in charge of the reincarnation of this world. In the past, she never left the river of forgetfulness, but this time, the river of forgetfulness had changed. The devil world was sealed. If she had personally come to the devil world, she would have been able to reconnect the river of forgetfulness. She didn't appear, Shining replied. The god fiend nodded. That's right. This is the reason why I spent so much effort to unite the immortal and demon realms. Before he could say anything, they had already fled. Although Granny Meng is one of the ancient gods of creation, it might be because the river of forgetfulness has passed through too many living beings in the three realms. The more she came into contact with them, the more she would inevitably be affected. That was why her personality was a little more jumpy. In the past he would often hide, but this time is different. He frowned. I can't sense her presence at all. Even the god of creation can't find her. Both of you are from a different world. I Ching has great luck, and Shening has special abilities. Perhaps you can really find her. Why should we help you? The previous debt had not been settled yet. The fiend celestial fell silent for a while before saying, if Mengpu is not around for a long period of time, the river of forgetfulness will definitely go out of control. When that happens, the three realms will definitely be in turmoil. He turned to look at I Ching. Perhaps you don't care, but can you really stand by and watch as the living beings of the three realms are destroyed? Lone Moon choked. Shit, the world crisis again. Of course, I really don't have the qualifications to ask you. The god fiend's voice slowed as he immediately added, how about this? Regardless of whether you can find Mengpo or not, I will tell you the method to connect to your world. How about that? Really? Lone Moon was shocked. There was actually such a method. In that case, he did not need to consider whether he should stay or leave. The god fiend's smile deepened. He raised his hand and said, I swear by the heavenly Tao. All right. Lone Moon nodded. He trusted him once more. But the three realms are so big. Where are we going to find him? What's more, Shining, who had no sense of direction, was he sure that he had normal vision? Mengpu will not leave the source of the river of forgetfulness for a long period of time. The god fiend said, you only need to search for her in the realm where the source of the river of forgetfulness is located. It's very simple. You mean you want us to leave the immortal realm? Easy as hell. What was he going to do with the wealth he had accumulated for so long? Also, where is the source of the river of forgetfulness? It can't be the netherworld, right? Holy shit, he really planned to send them to hell. To be precise, it's the divine underworld. The god fiend corrected. God? Netherworld? What did that mean? After the divine realm left the immortal realm, the entire realm ascended. That's why it's now part of the same realm as the netherworld. Ascended to the netherworld. You're saying, the netherworld was originally one of the three realms. The heaven realm. The god fiend nodded. The source of the river of forgetfulness is naturally at the top of the three realms. Lone Moon. I Ching. This was different from what they had agreed on. A bunch of nouns like hell, king of hell, black and white impermanence appeared in his mind. And those evil ghosts that even ordinary cultivators could deal with. So they were all residents of the imperial capital of the heaven realm? Although they were the kind that flowed, why did he suddenly feel that the divine realm had fallen to the bottom of the valley? Where's Shorty? Shining suddenly asked. Don't worry. Given her fate, she'll be fine. She's not fated to die. The god fiend explained. And wherever you go is where she is. Xian Tong is in the divine underworld. Lone Moon was shocked. No wonder none of them had seen the aura from the flower before. So it wasn't something that belonged to someone from the celestial realm? But why did the divine race want to capture Xian Tong? That's not right. Can people from the divine realm enter the celestial realm as they please? If they could, why had no divine race appeared in the celestial realm all these years? This was illogical. You'll understand once you go to the divine underworld. He waved his hand. Instantly, a white light flashed and floated in front of them. I can't interfere with the three realms, so I can't go there personally. If you're ready to move, use your immortal chi to activate this. It will bring you to the divine underworld. As long as you're within 10 feet of Mengpa, this thing will light up as a red warning. I'll appear then. Shenning reached out to take it. Lo Moon looked down and his mouth twitched. Indeed, it was another jade pendant. And it was the same as the 2 pieces that Hui Ling had. Did this god fiend have some special obsession with jade pendants? Thank you for your hard work. The god fiend's smile deepened. His figure became fainter and fainter. Even the entire divine realm dissipated like fog. Wait. They weren't done with their questions. At least give them a general direction. Lo Moon wanted to ask more. But the scenery in front of him changed. They were already standing in the courtyard of the Heavenly Palace's rear palace. Little Black was sitting on a chair opposite them. He was holding a bowl-sized piece of mooncake and munching on it. It was a 5-kernel mooncake. Exalted Goddess, you're back. Little Black dusted off the mooncake crumbs on his hands. That was fast. How was it? What did the god fiend say? Little Black. Shenning suddenly interrupted him. She glanced at the empty plate on the table and narrowed her eyes. You can leave now. Huh. He just arrived not long ago. Why dash? Just as he was about to ask, Shenning suddenly glanced at him. Little Black felt a chill run down his spine. He subconsciously trembled. Why was the exalted goddess looking at him like that? Demon King, please. Yu Hong was very perceptive. She started to chase him away. Little Black looked confused. He turned back every step he took and walked out. Little sister Little Hong, did I do something wrong? He felt that the exalted goddess was looking down on him. Yu Hong looked at him strangely. What? Sigh. It's better if you don't know. Why? Sect Master hasn't had dinner today. Huh? What do you mean? Speak clearly so that I can suck up to you next time. Chapter 238. What do you think? Should we go or not? Lo Moon frowned. He had agreed readily just now, but now he was a little conflicted. Xian Tong was currently in the divine underworld, and her situation was unknown. Although the god fiend said that she was not in danger for the time being, it did not mean that she would be fine in the future. Moreover, she was only a Stygian immortal. In that place where gods were everywhere, it would be strange if she could be safe. Especially her indescribable bad luck attribute. No matter what, he was still a disciple of their sect, so it was impossible for them to ignore him. However, if the 3 of them went to the divine underworld, putting aside the fact that the god fiend wanted them to look for Mengpa, it would be a problem if they could even return. The world of immortals seemed to be in peace. That was because of Shenning. The moment she ascended to the god realm, the immortal realm, and the devil realm would start fighting at any moment. And the first to bear the brunt was the invincible Heavenly Palace. Although the 10 sky demons haven't recovered from their injuries from the last time you beat them up, with the 10 heavenly emperors joining forces, it was not that they did not have the power to fight the fiend world either. But if you add Little Black, it was not that he was biased, but the strength of the immortal world was really too weak. Moreover, the demon world still has Zhan Ting. Although Emperor Zhuohua was present, this henpecked husband wouldn't be able to cause much trouble. But if they really caused a ruckus, the other demons might come looking for them. What do you think we should do now? Huh? Shenning stammered. As she chewed on the vegetables, she turned around. What did you say? Lo Moon felt a ding in his mind. Something snapped. You're still in the mood to eat? Can't you see that I'm so anxious? He was so angry that his liver hurt. He turned around and glared at a certain person who was walking towards the kitchen. And you? Stop cooking. You've already cooked more than 20 dishes. Father Niu. Shenning slurped the food into her mouth. You'll only have the energy to think when you're full. Chef, add a tomato scrambled egg. Yes, master. No problem, master. That's enough. Lone Moon resisted the urge to flip the table. Aren't the 2 of you worried about Shorty at all? After all, they had known each other for so many years and watched her grow up. I'm worried. Shenning nodded. That's why I asked Chef to make a few more dishes for us to eat on the road. What if there was nothing to eat there? You're really planning to go to the divine underworld. And you're planning to leave now? What else? But if we leave our sect in the immortal and demonic realms. Father Niu. Shenning suddenly interrupted him and said in a low voice. Why did you leave Black Heaven sect back then? Lone Moon stared blankly at her. Why? Black Heaven's sect intended to make I Ching and shunning the scapegoats. They were supposed to protect their disciples, but they didn't care about their disciples' lives in times of crisis. That was why I Ching's heart was cold towards such a sect. Then he boarded Shenying's pirate ship. It's the same for us now. Shenying thought about it and said, Shorty is a member of our invincible sect. Lone Moon's whole body shook, and the knot of depression that had been condensed in his heart dissipated instantly. Yes. Why was he hesitating? They were disciples of invincible sect. How could they let others bully them? As for coming back, with the cheat, he had nothing to be afraid of. If worse comes to worst, I'll just capture a demon and make him swear an oath. I understand. Lone Moon smiled. He felt his entire body relax. His heart mirror was transparent. He glared at Shenying out of habit. And get your oily claws off my shoulder. Damn it. She even took the opportunity to rub against him 2 or 3 times, treating his Dharma robe as a rag. Don't think I didn't see it. Do you believe that I won't stomp it? Shenying retracted her claws and continued to reach for the big bowl in front of her. There's crayfish tonight. Sigh, a pity that she didn't prepare a napkin. Her hands were so oily that it was hard to pick up other dishes. Master, the tomato scrambled eggs are ready. Oh. Lone Moon conjured a dust-removing seal and wiped away the oily claw marks on his shoulder. Then, he sat back down at the table. He looked around worriedly. It seemed like he had to make arrangements for the heavenly palace as soon as possible. After all, there were so many disciples to worry about. Don't worry, I Ching said as he moved the tomato scrambled eggs in front of Shenying. The God Fiend did not hesitate to use the method of connecting the 2 worlds to request for us to go to the divine underworld. It seems that he had already thought of everything. Then, he must have arranged everything that we're worried about. Lone Moon was stunned. Just as he was about to ask, the ground shook. Not far away, a thick demonic chi rose into the sky. In an instant, it covered the entire heavenly palace. The immortal chi was forced to disperse in all directions. This is the direction of Lanhua. And look at the level of the demonic chi. Lanhua has ascended. Lone Moon was shocked. He stood up immediately. Lanhua was a sky fiend. If he ascended, he would be a demon king. Although Lanhua was a demon, his heart had always been biased towards the immortal realm. Could this be the God Fiend's arrangement? If Lanhua ascended to the demon king, even if they weren't here, the immortal and demonic realms could still maintain balance. He had to say that the God Fiend had really thought of everything. The worry in Lone Moon's heart dissipated a lot. Shenying Wei. Before he could finish speaking, a golden light suddenly lit up around Shenying's waist. It instantly enveloped the 3 of them. Holy shit! It's that jade pendant! Lone Moon shouted. But it was too late. The 3 of them disappeared on the spot. The God Fiend was a liar. He said that immortal chi could be activated. But he didn't say that any immortal chi could be activated. Somewhere in the divine underworld, thick immortal chi spread throughout the entire forest. Like a white fog, it became thicker and thicker. It seemed like it was about to condense and take form. In a short while, the originally lush and green forest had become a snowy white. And between the layers of clouds, a huge door covered with array patterns appeared. It looked very simple and unadorned. Dermic talismans with golden characters floated around it, carrying with it an oppressive might of heaven and earth. Suddenly there was a creaking sound. The door suddenly opened outwards. Blinding golden light shone out from inside, sprinkling across the entire forest. A faint heavenly voice sounded. It sounded so far away that it couldn't be heard clearly. It was as if something was descending into the world. The next moment, a huge dragon's roar broke through the air. A black figure rushed out from inside, straight into the night sky. The dragon's roar spread in all directions. It did not stop for a long time, causing the sea of clouds to churn. The surrounding immortal chi became thicker. The huge door had already disappeared. It turned into wisps of blue god power that surged towards the figure in the clouds. The huge black dragon was faintly discernible between the clouds. It seemed to be dancing excitedly in the sky. A voice with god power suddenly sounded from the sky. Ha 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 ha. I finally cultivated a winged dragon and ascended to the divine realm. The dragon's voice was very loud. As it laughed, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. From now on, I'm a true member of the divine clan. As soon as it finished speaking, there was a loud rumble of thunder. The huge black dragon's body suddenly emitted several red lightning bolts. The sky instantly darkened, and everything was pitch black. However, the huge dragon was still dancing in the clouds. Its god power immediately spread out in all directions. The more the black dragon flew, the more excited it became. Wizard, I'll definitely make you pay for what happened hundreds of thousands of years ago. As it spoke, it seemed to be venting its anger. It spat out a huge red lightning bolt. With a loud rumble, it struck downwards. Its entire body rushed towards the forest below along with the lightning bolt. It was as if it wanted to strike the forest below into ashes. The lightning bolt carried with it a shocking might, and went further and further away. The huge dragon was eager to vent its anger. It passed through the clouds, the lightning bolt, and the trees. It looked like it was about to hit the ground. Suddenly, a figure appeared from behind a tree. He wore a white robe with blue trim, and his hair was a little messy. He raised his head slightly and directly met the huge dragon's eyes. As if he was used to waving and greeting, he said, "Hey, long worm." Chapter 239. The black dragon's eyes widened, and it subconsciously closed its mouth to swallow the lightning it had just spat out. Its body stiffened, but it was too late to turn around, and it was unable to stop its onslaught. With a rumble, the black dragon's huge dragon head plunged into the ground, and like a giant shovel, it directly uprooted a huge ancient tree beside it. All Shining heard was a crash. The ancient tree drew a perfect arc in the air and fell to the ground. She could faintly hear a cracking sound coming from the black dragon's body. It sounded like something was broken. "Hey, are you still alive?" Shining picked up a tree branch and poked at the creature whose head was still buried in the ground. Why did he pretend to be a pangolin? His bones were broken, right? Shining looked carefully at the dragon in front of her. "You're not that long worm from the park director, are you?" Although he had grown bigger, he might have been fed better food. The dragon's body stiffened, as if he had just regained his senses. He pulled his head out of the ground and jumped more than 10 meters away. He looked at the person in front of him in horror. Great immortal, you. Why are you here? Isn't this the divine realm? You really are a long worm." Shining was a little surprised. "Hey, long time no see. You look different." Even his horns had changed. "Great immortal, I have already transformed into a winged dragon. Naturally, I will look like a dragon." The black dragon trembled out of habit and took a step back weakly. "And I am now the same as Baize, a divine race." "Oh." Shining nodded. She imitated Father Neo and praised him in a commercial manner. "You work very hard." Great immortal, you flatter me." The black dragon chuckled. "Ever since Great Immortal ascended, hundreds of thousands of years have passed in the Azure world. Naturally Wait, you are an immortal?" He seemed to have thought of something important. He scanned the immortal chi around Shining that had not completely dissipated. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Even the fear in his eyes faded. Shining hesitated for a moment before nodding. "I guess so." Then, it heaved a long sigh of relief and looked straight at Shining. Its body lit up with red lightning again, and its mouth curved into a sinister smile. "That's great." "Huh." Shining tilted her head. "Ha ha ha." It suddenly let out a burst of cold laughter, and the lightning on its body brightened. "I almost forgot. I'm already a god. Do you think I'm afraid of you? What can a mere immortal do to me?" With that said, he suddenly leaped and pounced towards Shining. Is he itching for a beating? 2 minutes later. "Exalted goddess, I was wrong. In the future, I will be your worm when I live, and I will be your dead worm when I die. As long as you command me, I will go through fire and water. I will go through water and tread on fire without hesitation. It's not that serious." Shining frowned. "I just want to ask you for a favor. Please give me your instructions, exalted goddess. I just arrived in this world and got separated from Chef and the others." She looked around in confusion. "Bring me out of this forest first." "Yes, exalted goddess." "No problem, exalted goddess." Leave it to me, exalted goddess. The black dragon nodded vigorously. Exalted goddess, do you know roughly where the person you're looking for is? I don't know. They disappeared the moment I arrived in the divine world. Then, how long have you been in this forest, exalted goddess? For 5-6 months. She had forgotten. The black dragon. This forest isn't that big. How did you manage to get out of it after spending a few months? Then exalted goddess, why don't we get out of here first? The black dragon asked tentatively. Afraid that she was unwilling, he added. Exalted goddess, don't worry. Before you find the person you're looking for, I'll be by your side. All right. Shening nodded very agreeably. Thank you for your hard work. It's my job. The black dragon chuckled. Then, can I trouble exalted goddess to pull me out of this rock on the ground? This should be a divine mystic rock. It's too hard. I think I'm stuck. That's why she had to do it herself when they could talk nicely. Wait a minute. Shening retracted her foot from the dragon's head. She looked around and picked up its tail. She remembered that it said the rock was too hard, so she exerted a little more force. She tightened her grip and pulled hard, with a loud tearing sound. The black dragon was still stuck in the rock. Shening had half of the dragon's tail in her hand. Shening. Ayo! A blood-curdling screech instantly spread through the entire forest. It carried along the echoes of the screech, echoing endlessly. I'm sorry. I didn't expect this rock to be so hard. Shening scratched her head apologetically. She immediately changed her strategy. Why don't I break the rock? With that said, she clenched her fist and punched the ground. There was a series of cracking sounds. Cracks spread out like a spider web. The huge rock under their feet collapsed instantly and shattered into pieces. The black dragon, who could finally move, froze in place. Why did it suddenly feel that it was extremely lucky not to be beaten to death just now? Let's go. Shening jumped down from the pile of rocks. She took 2 steps, but the black dragon did not follow. Long worm, why are you standing there? Aren't you going? The black dragon's whole body trembled. It looked at the rubble on the ground in fear. My legs. My legs are weak. All 4 of your legs are weak. Shening glanced at it and sighed. She turned around and said kindly, Why don't you? I'll carry you. No. There's no need. The black dragon jumped up. A black light flashed on its body, and it turned into a man dressed in black. I can walk. Thank you, exalted goddess. Shening did not mind. Long worm, which way? Why don't we go east? The black dragon pointed to the right, and followed behind her like a little wife. All right. Shening started walking. Exalted goddess. East is on your right. Oh. She immediately turned in another direction. Exalted goddess, that's left. A quarter of an hour later, a light breeze swept through the forest. A man dressed in green landed on the pile of rubble that the 2 of them had just left. His eyes were red, and he looked angrily at the rubble on the ground. Damn it! Who destroyed the Supreme Divinity's divine mystic stone? He waved his hand. Instantly, a faint layer of white fog appeared on the divine mystic stone. It began to slowly gather and take shape. In a short while, it turned into the shape of a dragon. Even its color turned black. So it's a black dragon. The man's expression became even more furious. Damn it! He waved his sleeves. Instantly, a huge aura exploded from his body. In an instant, half of the forest behind him collapsed. The man glanced at the rubble on the ground. Once again, he turned into a light breeze and disappeared. At this moment, Shening, who was outside the forest, was looking at the endless grassland in front of her in surprise. Wow, it really came out. Chapter 240. Shening, who had no sense of direction for a few months, could not help but praise the worm beside her. Good job, long worm. Of course. The black dragon smiled humbly. The forest wasn't that big anyway. Exalted goddess, what do you plan to do next? Shening thought about it, and glanced at the path in front of her. Let's go to a crowded place first. Chef would probably come looking for her. Perhaps they would bump into each other. The key was, did you bring anything to eat? She was really not used to not having anything to eat. Eat what? The black dragon shuddered. He was instantly reminded of the beast's tide that had been cut in half. His face turned pale. Exalted goddess, I've been undergoing grain liberation since I was very young, so I don't. Oh. Shenning looked disappointed. She turned and scanned the black dragon from head to toe. She seemed to have discovered something. Longworm you, Bada. Before she could finish her sentence, the black dragon's legs gave way, and he fell to his knees. He started wailing. Exalted goddess. I can't eat it. I still need to show you the way. Also, my meat tastes really bad, really. No, Exalted goddess, have you forgotten that I'm a demonic WIRM? My entire body is poisonous. If you eat me, you'll have diarrhea. Actually, I know you're hungry, but I still want to get married and have a nest of little dragons. I won't die in peace, exalted goddess. The corner of Xin Ying's mouth twitched. What nonsense was this? I'm not going to eat you. Exalted god, I'm not. The black dragon was stunned and his tears stopped. He looked at Shun Ying in disbelief. You're not? Yes. She nodded. I don't know how to cook. The chef wasn't even here. The black dragon heaved a long sigh of relief, looking as if he had just escaped death. That's good. What did the exalted goddess want to say? Shun Ying glanced at him. Oh, I wanted to remind you to change your clothes. What did that mean? Don't you know there's a big hole in your clothes? Shun Ying pointed at his back. Exalted goddess, you must be joking. The black dragon explained seriously. My black robe is still formed from dragon scales, it won't. He subconsciously touched his back and felt a cool sensation. His body instantly stiffened. Don't you feel that your butt is a little cold? A while later. A blood-curdling scream pierced through the air. He had forgotten that half of his tail fin had been torn off, and he had actually walked through the entire forest with his butt bare. There was no hope for a dragon's life. The dragon and the man walked aimlessly for more than an hour. Only when they passed through a grassland did they gradually see other figures. The black dragon could only tell from their breaths that most of them were from the god clan in human form. However, they might have used some kind of concealment spell, so the black dragon could not see through their original forms. They asked around, but no one had seen I Ching and Lone Moon. But the further east they went, the more people they saw. In less than a moment, there were already dozens of figures flying with them in the sky. These people seemed to be flying in the same direction, as if they were in a hurry to go somewhere. There was a faint look of excitement on their faces, and they were flying rather anxiously. This little brother. Shun Ying waved at the person closest to her. The person next to him stopped and looked around blankly. Here. Shun Ying hurriedly waved her hand in front of his eyes. The person paused for a moment before noticing her presence. Fellow Taoist, what's the matter? Where are you going? Shun Ying did not hear any news about Chef and Father Niu, so she asked casually. You don't know? The person looked at her in surprise. We are naturally heading to the Lingtai Mountain to attend the Great Dharma Assembly. We are going to listen to Supreme Divinity Hong Yu's Tao lecture. Supreme Divinity Hong Yu? Who? Supreme Divinity only opens a Tao hall once every 1,000 years, and each time, it's only for 3 days. The person explained excitedly. Supreme Divinity's dharmic powers are very strong. Everyone who listened to his Tao lecture benefited greatly, and their cultivation levels increased greatly. That's why everyone is so anxious to get a good seat on the Lingtai Mountain. I also specially rushed over from the north. Are there many people going to this great Dharma assembly? Of course. He nodded vigorously. In the entire divine underworld, who doesn't want to receive Supreme Divinity's guidance? Not to mention the divine races. Even the wild spirits can be enlightened by him. It's not impossible for them to step into the great Tao. Oh, little girl, I have to go first. If I'm late, there will be too many people. I'm afraid I won't be able to squeeze up the mountain. Thank you. You're welcome. He nodded kindly at her, then sped up and flew away on his cloud. Exalted goddess, do you want to go to that great Dharma assembly? The black dragon turned to look at Xin Ying, who was sitting on his cloud. Xin Ying nodded. There should be many people at the public class. It would also be convenient for her to put up a missing person notice or something. What the hell was a public class? The black dragon did not dare to ask. He obediently sped up and flew in the direction of the crowd. The long worm flew very quickly. In a short while, a huge floating mountain suddenly appeared between the clouds in front of them. It was different from the majestic heavenly palaces in the immortal world. The entire floating mountain was surrounded by 7-colored divine light, as if it was glowing. It was especially eye-catching. There was also a moving sea of clouds at the bottom of the mountain. A bridge made of lotus flowers extended from the bottom of the mountain to the huge lotus platform in front of them. The lotus platform was very wide, and there were already many immortals standing on it. At a rough estimate, there were thousands of them. Every one of them was surrounded by blue god power. The only difference was the amount. Most of the divine races maintained their human forms, but there were also some who looked like beasts that Shining had never seen before. So many divine races. The black dragon's eyes widened. He scanned the beast-shaped people one by one, his face full of surprise. This was the first time he saw so many different divine races. The strange thing was that there was no dragon race in the middle. The scene was very lively. Although there were many people, they were very orderly. They all lined up according to the order in which they came. There were no signs of arguing or queue cutting. The scene was very harmonious. This was indeed the highest level of the divine world. Exalted goddess. The black dragon stopped in the air and looked inquiringly at Shining. Let's line up first. She pointed downwards. The two of them fell at the back of the line. Long Worm asked. She pointed at the people who were falling behind. All right. The black dragon immediately went forward and asked the people at the back of the line. Unfortunately, they still did not get any clues. They could only go in and ask. The line advanced very quickly. In a short while, they were already at the front. Only then did they realize that there was a huge array in front of the lotus platform. But there was no one guarding it. There were only a few rows of dazzling golden words floating in the air beside it. Beer Platform Dharma Assembly. Education without discrimination. Apart from the dragon race. Shining. Black dragon. Why did they discriminate against the dragon race? What did they do? And the 4 words at the back. They were obviously added later, right? They were obviously smaller, weren't they? Chapter 241. Exalted. Exalted goddess. The black dragon turned to look at Shining. What do we do? Don't worry, let's go in first. Shining gave him a look and lowered her voice. No one recognized you as a dragon just now anyway. Is it really possible? Don't worry, it's all right. Shining patted her chest and promised. After some thought she added. I'm here. What's there to be afraid of? That's right, there's still the exalted goddess. The black dragon made up his mind and stepped into the door. In an instant, there was a series of swishing sounds. More than 10 spirit swords appeared all around and landed under the black dragon's legs, surrounding him in the middle. The red light under his feet shone brightly. At the same time, thousands of swords appeared above his head. The swords were aimed at him and rained down on him. The black dragon. Everyone. What happened to being fine? The black dragon was a dragon after all. Although the sword array came suddenly, he reacted very quickly. He subconsciously transformed into his dragon form and rushed forward, dodging the sword rain in time. In an instant, a huge black dragon appeared on the lotus road in front of him. The gods who were just chatting and greeting each other fell dead silent. Thousands of eyes were fixed on the black dragon. He suddenly had a bad feeling. Dragon! It's a dragon! No one knew who shouted, but for a moment, everyone seemed to be ignited. They all stared at it with their eyes wide open. Black dragon, it's a black dragon. It must be the one supreme divinity is looking for. Catch him. Instantly, everyone present seemed to have been ignited. They took out their Dharma artifacts and cast their arts. A huge sea of people pressed towards the darkness. Even the Lingtai mountain, which was not far away, flew out in an instant. The black dragon could only summon lightning to attack the Dharma artifacts in the air. He looked at Shining. What do we do? Save me. Shining scanned the crowd in front of her and said decisively, Run! In the next moment, there was a whoosh and a cloud of dust rose from the lotus platform. There were too many people. Fighting was tiring. The black dragon. Didn't he say that he would protect him? The black dragon didn't even have time to feel sad. He slapped the person beside him away with his tail and turned to chase after him, running for his life. The onlookers. What a fast figure. But why was he running towards the supreme divinity's Ling Tai mountain? Walk right into the trap. Just as the two of them were about to reach the foot of the Ling Tai mountain, a golden lotus suddenly descended from the sky. With a clang, the petals instantly closed and wrapped around the black dragon. The black dragon was caught off guard and crashed head first into the petals. Instantly, he felt stars before his eyes, and all the divine power in his body was sealed. Outside the lotus, Shening. Shit. He got the wrong way. The black dragon. Why was he the one who was hurt? Why was it always him? Ling Tai Mountain Flamboyant Hall. An oppressive pressure filled the entire hall. A dozen or so heavenly gods with unfathomable cultivation bases sat on either side, each of them glaring furiously at the black dragon trapped in the lotus. How dare you, evil dragon! You destroyed the supreme divinity's divine mystic stone, and you still dare to behave atrociously on the Ling Tai Mountain. Do you know your crimes? A person on the right walked out and looked at him furiously. What divine mystic stone? The black dragon hesitated for a moment, then glared at them angrily. It's my fault for barging in. But don't try to frame me. You still dare to quibble. That person's expression turned cold. He immediately used a spell, and a water mirror appeared in the hall. On it, an image could be seen faintly. Do you recognize this place? The black dragon took a closer look and realized that it seemed to be a forest. The lush greenery looked a little familiar, especially the pile of gravel on the ground. Wait a minute. Wasn't this the stone that exalted goddess Shin slapped him into previously? He could even vaguely see the groove in the pile of gravel, where his original shape was. The divine mystic stone that he was stuck in belonged to that supreme divinity. I have indeed been to this place before. The black dragon coughed and said, but this stone was not broken by me. The divine mystic stone in this bewitching forest was placed here by supreme divinity Hongyu. He personally set up an array to nourish it. That person snorted coldly, and his voice became even more furious. I went to take a look. The remnant aura in the gravel was your aura. If it was not you, then who did it? It's... The black dragon choked. He did not dare to say who it was. Oh, it's me. Shening raised her hand. Who? That person was shocked. He looked around before noticing the woman standing beside the black dragon. Who are you? When did you barge in? It was not just him. All the gods in the hall were shocked. In order to prevent the black dragon from escaping, there was an isolation array outside the hall, so that no one could enter. When did this woman appear? They actually did not notice at all. I've been here all along. Shen Ying's mouth twitched. Ever since they caught the black dragon and brought him in. The person who asked the question's expression darkened. He scanned her from head to toe and realized that there was not a trace of god power in her body. He immediately relaxed. With such low god power, it was no wonder that they did not notice her. Little girl, what do you mean by what you said just now? That stone. Shening pointed at the water mirror. Maybe. I was the one who smashed it. The black dragon immediately said obsequiously, you can't blame the exalted goddess for this. Your stone is too weak. The exalted goddess smashed it with a light punch. How dare you call it the divine mystic stone? You're saying that it was this woman who smashed the divine mystic stone directly? That person's expression darkened even more. He looked at the black dragon coldly. That's right. Nonsense. That person became even more furious. He slammed the table and stood up. You black dragon, you have no sense of shame. You destroyed the supreme divinity's divine mystic stone first. Not only do you not know how to repent, you even tried to make connections with her? Hey, I'm telling the truth. Shut up. The divine mystic stone is the hardest divine stone in the divine underworld. Even the true fire of the phoenix race might not be able to refine it. How could it be smashed with one punch? Do you think I'm blind? You're really blind. The more he spoke, the angrier he became. He looked like he wanted to smash the black dragon's head. Even the other gods beside him started to criticize the black dragon. I didn't think that the dragon race of the 4 great divine races would have such a shameless dragon. That's right, a bunch of lies. In order to escape punishment, he actually made up such an excuse. That little girl looks like a little god who just ascended to the deity position. How could she have such god power? This unrepentant evil dragon must be dealt with severely. That's right. The supreme divinity is coming to preach soon. This matter must be resolved before he returns. The black dragon. In this day and age, no one believed the truth. Shunning. I can only help you this much. Fellow Taoists, how do you think we should deal with this dragon? The person at the head of the left stepped forward and asked the gods with cupped fists. Chapter 242. Everyone looked at each other for a while, and after a while, they began to speak one after another. The supreme divinity mystic rock has been raised by the divinity for tens of thousands of years. This dragon has committed grave sins. We cannot let it off easily. That's right. It's a dragon. Today, we work together to get the supreme divinity's golden lotus to take it down. If we don't punish it now, who knows what evil it will do in the future? But we can't hurt it. Why don't we hand it over to the supreme divinity? No, the supreme divinity has always been soft-hearted. What if this black dragon deceives the supreme divinity, and she lets it go? The deities were silent for a while, and looked at the black dragon with disdain. Scapegoat dragon. What does this have to do with me? Why don't we send it to the Dragon Valley? The person on the right suddenly said. No. The person on the left immediately objected. Isn't sending it to the Dragon Valley releasing a tiger back into the mountains? The dragon race had always been self-centered. They would not care about this matter. I mean, send it to the Dragon Abyss in the Dragon Valley. As soon as he finished speaking, the eyes of everyone in the hall lit up. That's great. That's right. Hasn't the supreme divinity in the Dragon Abyss been looking for a male dragon of the same race for the past 1,000 years? Sending this black dragon over is perfect. He has just ascended. The supreme divinity will definitely be pleased. That's right. The supreme divinity is very powerful. This black dragon will not be able to do anything to her. Since that's the case, it's decided. Hurry up and send it away. The supreme divinity is about to preach. Don't let him see this dragon. Wait. What do you want? The black dragon suddenly had a bad feeling. It wanted to rush out, but was trapped by the golden lotus. It could not exert any strength. Let me go. The deities ignored it. 2 of them even walked over quickly. Each of them cast a spell and lifted the black dragon trapped in the golden lotus. Then they walked out. The black dragon could not move at all. It could only be pulled along with the golden lotus. I'm warning you. Let go of me. Otherwise you'll suffer when I come out. The 2 of them turned a deaf ear to it and dragged it impatiently towards an array. In a flash, the few of them left the Lingtai mountain and arrived at another world. The weather was getting hotter, and they were surrounded by withered grass and trees. The 2 of them pulled the black dragon and flew for a while before stopping in front of a huge volcano. The ground beneath their feet was covered in lava. The 2 of them tossed the black dragon down from the clouds and untied the golden lotus on the black dragon's body. Then they turned around and flew away. It was as if they were running away from something. In an instant they had disappeared. The black dragon lost its balance and almost fell into the ground again. Fortunately, Shining, who had been following by its side, pulled it up in time to prevent its face from hitting the ground. Thank you, exalted goddess. The black dragon thanked her with a bitter expression. But, exalted goddess, can you not pull my tail next time? Half of it was already gone. It really hurt. All right. He had gotten used to it. The black dragon rubbed his tail, feeling wronged. He glanced at Shining and asked, Exalted goddess, why didn't you beat them up just now? She promised to protect him. Because, Shining said seriously, I'm in the wrong. No matter what, she was the one who broke the rock. She emphasized, I'm a reasonable person. Moreover, she was not the one who took the blame. The black dragon. Why is your way of reasoning different from mine? Oh, greater than over equal to. Oh, the black dragon looked around. He could feel the thick dragon chi around him, making him feel extremely comfortable. Even the wound on his tail was healing automatically. He was even more confused. To a dragon, this seemed like a good place. Why did they throw me here? Didn't they say they were going to punish him? There was no reason for them to send him to such a good place. Shening shook her head. Just as she was thinking about it, a surprised voice suddenly sounded. There's a newcomer. A gust of wind blew past them. Two women, one in white and one in green, suddenly landed in front of them. They were looking in the direction of the black dragon with shining eyes. That's great. It's a male dragon. Let's send him to the dragon palace. All right. The other woman in green said excitedly. Supreme Divinity has been in a bad mood recently. It's just right to send him there. Yes, yes, yes. Although he's a little ugly and lacks a tail fin. The woman in white scanned the black dragon from head to toe. Supreme Divinity probably won't mind. With that said, the two of them walked towards the black dragon. Who are you two? The black dragon immediately got up, swung his tail and roared at the two. What do you want? Of course we want to send you to the dragon palace to be Supreme Divinity's husband's servant. The woman in green said matter-of-factly. Didn't you enter the dragon abyss for this? Husband's servant. SB, what the hell? The black dragon felt that his male dignity was being insulted. His eyes widened and he scolded. Who wants to be someone's husband's servant? I'm a dignified dragon. How can anyone think that way? Wait a minute. Could it be that the people who captured him sent him here to make him a ghost husband's servant? Could there really be a perverted supreme divinity in the dragon abyss who specialized in capturing male dragons? Damn. He did not want to be someone's boy toy. You black dragon, why are you so unreasonable? The woman in green glared at him with some dissatisfaction. You're already in the dragon abyss. Are you not here to be Supreme Divinity's husband's servant? Are you here to have fun? I was kidnapped and brought here. The black dragon was angry and annoyed. Your Supreme Divinity must be too ugly to marry. You want me to marry her? Dream on. I sell my skills, not my body. How dare you? The two girls were angry. They pointed at him and said, How dare you be rude to Supreme Divinity? The black dragon was also angry. Get lost. Otherwise I'll eat you. With that said, he prepared to pounce on the two girls. His dragon claws were about to grab them. The two girls' expressions turned cold. Suddenly, their bodies shook and in the next moment, they turned into two huge dragons, one green and one white. Their bodies looked even bigger than the black dragon. Huh. They were dragons too. The black dragon was stunned. Before he could react, he was directly suppressed by the two dragons. His entire body was pressed to the ground. Where did this country bumpkin come from? How dare you be rude to Supreme Divinity? You're just a crippled dragon without a tail. How dare you talk big about marrying Supreme Divinity? Dream on. To be able to be a servant in warm Supreme Divinity's bed is a blessing from my previous life. That's right. Why would Supreme Divinity fancy a lowly dragon like you? You don't know your place. Beat him up. The black dragon howled miserably as it was grabbed. For a moment, its black scales fluttered in the air. Ow. I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Exalted goddess. Exalted goddess. Save me, exalted goddess. They're dragons too. Save me. Save me. Shening. Can't you learn from your mistakes? Shening sighed. She turned around and grabbed the tails of the two dragons with each hand. Girls, calm down. Just as she was about to pull them off the black dragon, a cold voice came from behind. What's the commotion? Chapter 243. A scorching aura hit them in the face. The surroundings were dyed fiery red. A fire dragon formed from lava appeared in front of them. A woman dressed in red stood on the dragon's head. Her long hair was tied up high, and light blue divine power surrounded her body. She seemed to have deliberately restrained it. From afar, one could feel an oppressive power. Her aura was astonishing. What was important was her face. She was extremely beautiful, but had a rare heroic spirit. Wow. She looked like a mature sister. The black dragon was stunned. For a moment it forgot to struggle. Greetings, Supreme Divinity. The two dragons that were pressing down on it and rubbing the dragon's scales stopped. In an instant, they transformed back into the two cute girls from before. They obediently bowed to the person on the fire dragon, their eyes filled with joy. Supreme Divinity, you're back so soon? The woman nodded. She glanced at the two of them, and slowly walked down from the fire dragon. Every move she made carried the suppressive power of a high-level divine. The moment she landed, the fire dragon behind her turned back into ordinary lava. What happened here? She glanced at the dragon's scales on the ground and frowned slightly. Supreme Divinity, the woman in green said. We found a black dragon that broke in. We wanted to send him to the dragon palace. But not only was he unwilling, he even spoke disrespectfully to Supreme Divinity. We were so angry that the woman's gaze fell on the black dragon. Black dragon? The black dragon did not reply. It was as if its acupuncture points had been hit. It stared blankly at the woman above it. So beautiful. The dragon chi on his body. The woman suddenly frowned. She looked at the lingering spirit chi on the black dragon's body. So he's a little dragon that just ascended from the lower realm. Forget it. She sighed and waved her hand. He must have broken in unintentionally. Let him go. But Supreme Divinity, according to the rules of the Dragon Abyss, any dragon that enters has to be tested. The girl in green wanted to say something, but was interrupted by the woman. She said sternly, I'm not one to force others to do something they don't want to do. Since he's unwilling, let him out of the Dragon Abyss. Without another word, the lava under her feet once again formed a fire dragon. She turned and flew in the direction of the hall at the foot of the volcano. Yes. The two girls bowed respectfully and waited until the red-clothed girl walked away. Only then did the two of them turn and glare at the black dragon fiercely, their faces filled with disdain. However, they did not continue to attack. Instead, they pointed at it and coldly said, Humph, count yourself lucky. The girl in green took a step forward and kicked the black dragon's claw. Our Supreme Divinity is the dragon with the highest cultivation level in the dragon clan. Furthermore, he possesses the most noble bloodline of the ancient Azure dragon, and he is the dragon god of our race. You're just a mixed-blood dragon from the lower realm. How dare you criticize the Divine Lord? That's right. As expected, there aren't any good dragons out there. You can't defeat the Divine Lord, so you only know how to talk behind the Divine Lord's back. This time, the Divine Lord has ordered us to let you go. If you dare to disrespect the Divine Lord again, we'll beat you up every time we see you. The two of them reprimanded the black dragon for a bit, but seeing that the black dragon didn't reply, they pointed to the right and said, The way out is over there. Get out of the Dragon Abyss. After saying that, he turned around and flew away. The black dragon, on the other hand, was unusually well-behaved. He didn't retort, let alone explode in anger. He just stared blankly in the direction the group had left in, as if he had been struck dumb. Long Worm, you're still alive. Long Worm? Long Worm. Shining called out a few times, but the black dragon didn't react at all. He continued to stare in the direction of the volcano, as if he was frozen in place. Hey! Shining walked to the side of the dragon's head and waved her hand in front of his eyes. Wake up. You haven't been beaten, silly, have you? Exalted Goddess. The black dragon suddenly jumped up and transformed back into his human form. His eyes shone like light bulbs. Tell me, if I agree to be her servant now, do I still have a chance? King retard. Are you a freaking masochist? Exalted Goddess. Why don't we go to the Dragon Valley and ask around? I don't even know her name. Maybe she's... I'm not going. Shining rejected him instantly. Exalted Goddess. The black dragon's entire body became listless. Tears welled up in his eyes as he hugged her leg. This is the first time I've met a girl I like. If I miss this chance, I might not get another chance in the future. Can you bear to let me not find a wife for the rest of my life? Of course I can. Did he have to be so direct? Exalted Goddess, I'll go and ask around. If she doesn't accept, we'll come back immediately. The black dragon continued to persuade her. What's more, the dragon chi here is very thick. There should be many dragons here. It would be convenient for Exalted Goddess to ask around. I'm not going. It would be better to go back to the map. Exalted Goddess, Just listen to me this once. One look, and you can tell that the inside of the volcano is an important place for the dragon race. Although it looks scary on the outside, there's a whole new world inside. There might be all kinds of rare treasures and divine stones, strange flowers and fruits, rare delicacies and the like. Exalted goddess, are you sure? Where's she? Exalted goddess. Exalted goddess? Why are you standing there like a fool? Let's go. Shening waved a hand in front of her. Why didn't you say so earlier that there was food to eat? The black dragon's mouth twitched. He quickly followed her. All right, exalted goddess. No problem, exalted goddess. Please go this way, exalted goddess. That's the way back. Oh. Shening turned around and walked in the direction of the volcano. As she walked, she muttered to herself. Also, I was going to break up with you and look for Chef on my own. It looks like we still have to work together for a while. What? Nanny? What did he just hear? Break up? The exalted goddess was going to set him free. No. Exalted goddess, listen to my explanation. It's not too late to break up now. Also, long worm, why don't you change your clothes? Don't use your scales as clothes. It's fine if it's just your butt in the past. But now your entire lower body is naked. Won't you catch a cold? Uft. He could vaguely see a pillar of blood spurting out, which did not fall for a long time. At the top of the Lingtai mountain, a white-haired elder stood beside a pool. A water mirror floated in front of him. He laughed softly and suddenly spoke. We haven't seen each other for 10,000 years. Why are you suddenly sending me a voice transmission? Asking about someone? A cold voice came from the water mirror in front of him. It sounded like a heavenly voice. The surface of the mirror rippled. A white-robed man's figure could be vaguely seen. The elder's smile deepened. Who's so important? Thank you for asking personally. A black dragon, the voice replied. He probably just ascended recently. Black dragon? The elder thought for a moment. I heard that a few days ago, a black dragon broke into the Lingtai mountain. It seems to be the one that destroyed my divine mystic stone not long ago. However, before the Dharma assembly began, he was sent to the dragon abyss for punishment by the gods who came to listen to the Dharma assembly. Could it be that you are friends with this dragon? The person in the mirror frowned. You don't have to worry. Others may not know, but you should know what that person in the dragon abyss is like. I'm sure he won't make things difficult for him. The elder comforted. If you really have something urgent, I'll send someone to get him back. Chapter 244. No need. The person in the mirror replied. We're just old acquaintances. I suddenly thought of asking. The image in the mirror started to fade and was about to disappear. Wait. The old man seemed to recall something and hurriedly said, You're not still at the 1,000-feet mountain, are you? The person in the mirror did not reply. It was as if she was admitting it. Ai, why do you have to do this? The old man sighed. I think that exalted God Qianyu is not lying to you. He really doesn't know. Why do you have to stay there and force him to tell you? Even if he really doesn't know. The person in the mirror lowered her voice, as if she had been wronged. She will definitely appear. You. The old man was speechless. A moment later he shook his head. Forget it. I hope you can really find the person you're looking for. The other party did not reply. The mirror slowly shook and turned into a stream of water that fell into the pool below. The old man stroked his beard and sighed again. Ai, people at this age. Dragon Palace. The woman on the high seat looked at the messenger with some surprise. Black dragon? Is it the little black dragon, who just ascended to the divine underworld in the dragon abyss? Supreme divinity, it is indeed him. Didn't he say he was unwilling just now? Why is he here now? Long Zhen frowned, and a look of displeasure flashed across her face. Is he afraid that I will blame him? Tell him that I will not make things difficult for him. I don't need a husband like him. Yes. The maidservant was about to leave when another lady standing beside her stopped her. Wait. The lady cupped her fists towards Long Zhen. Supreme divinity. All these years, we've tried all sorts of methods. No matter how high the cultivation of the dragon race was, we've all failed. Perhaps young master's matter has nothing to do with cultivation. This black dragon has just descended. Perhaps we'll bump into him. There's no harm in trying, right? But he just descended and he's a black dragon. Longjun hesitated. Supreme Divinity, we can wait, but young master can't. Her expression turned even more serious. A moment later, she sighed and turned to the maidservant. Forget it. Let's try. Bring him to the dragon pool. I'll be there in a while. Yes. Only then did the maid leave. He agreed. The black dragon couldn't believe his ears. This was the first time he had fallen in love with a girl. It was a pity that the start was not very good. He thought that the other party would definitely be angry with him. But it turned out that he was just trying his luck and begging the exalted deity to let him come. He didn't expect the other party to agree immediately. He wasn't dreaming, right? When he thought of that woman just now, although he was just a husband servant with no status, at least he had the opportunity to get close to her. Perhaps they would develop feelings over time and become official. Exalted goddess, exalted goddess. He tugged at Shenying's sleeve excitedly. She agreed. Did you hear that? She agreed. Oh. Shenying, who was sitting in the living room, was pulled by him. She took a bite of the fruit in her hand, which she hadn't eaten for a long time. She held the plate full of fruit in her other hand tightly and moved it to the side. Cherish food and stay away from the love brain. In the past, when he was a flood dragon, the other flood dragons said that it was very difficult to chase after a wife, and that he had to be prepared to risk his life. Now, it seemed that it wasn't that difficult. He was indeed a special dragon. Please follow me to the rising dragon pool. The Supreme Divinity wants to see you, the maidservant said. So soon? The black dragon was shocked. He didn't expect to see his sweetheart so soon. Good. He was about to ask Shenying to get up when the maidservant added, the Supreme Divinity has something to ask you. She wants to see you alone. The black dragon hurriedly looked at Shenying. He hesitated for a moment before saying tentatively, Exalted goddess, why don't you rest first and I'll be back soon? Oh, Shenying responded, still munching on her fruit seriously. I'll be back soon. Seeing that she didn't object, the black dragon immediately followed the maidservant. Shenying didn't mind. She hadn't eaten for a long time. She was so hungry. The fruit was a little sour. It wasn't as good as the ones from Invincible Sect. She kept feeling like she missed Chef. The maidservant led the black dragon straight in the direction of the rear hall. It was as if they had entered an isolated area, and the surrounding temperature was getting higher and higher. Even the dragon race could feel a trace of scorching heat. The maidservant only stopped when they reached a passageway and gestured for him to enter. The black dragon didn't mind. He thanked her politely, which was rare. Then he turned and walked into the passageway. The air was getting hotter and hotter. The deeper he went, the hotter it got. The black dragon couldn't help but feel confused. Why did the extremely beautiful Supreme Divinity ask him to come to a place like this? The next moment his eyes opened up. This seemed to be the center of a volcano. There was a pool of lava in front of him. From time to time, pillars of fire would shoot up from it. Longjun stood beside the pool of lava. Compared to her formal attire earlier, she was wearing a thin shirt. She looked even more exquisite. The black dragon took one look and felt his body stiffen. His heart seemed to be cursed. It was thumping nonstop. So beautiful. Suddenly, a hot current was about to burst out. He hurriedly tilted his head back to hold it in. He had a nosebleed. He had to leave a good impression on his future wife. That was what he thought, but he couldn't help but look at her. Speaking of which, he seemed to be here to be her servant. Then it was normal for him to look at her a few more times. You're here? Longjun glanced at him. Her voice was still cold. Like before, she nodded and said, Come here. So fast. Air. The black dragon froze. He tried to get rid of the messy images in his head. I mean, you're looking for me? The black dragon took a few steps closer to her. The more he looked, the faster his heart beat. His head was buzzing. Yes. Longjun nodded. She still had that serious expression on her face. She scanned him from head to toe and asked, I want to confirm with you again. Are you really willing to be my servant? Of course. He nodded vigorously. Since that's the case. Longjun looked him up and down. A hint of worry flashed across her face. There are some things I need to tell you first. Once you become my servant, you can't go back on your word. You also have to stay in the dragon abyss. You can't leave without permission. The black dragon suddenly had the urge to smooth her brows. He subconsciously replied, okay. I will teach you a special cultivation technique. You have to practice it with me. You can't slack off. Are you willing? Yes. This cultivation technique is special. You have to practice it for at least 2 hours every day without stopping. Can you endure it? Yes. You can't be too far away from me when you practice it. You also have to change back to your original form. I'll listen to you. In that case. She seemed to heave a sigh of relief. She scanned him from head to toe. Take off your clothes. Okay. A while later. What? Chapter 245. The Black Dragon froze. Did she have to be so direct? Your clothes are not made of dragon scales. It's useless even if you wear them. Anyway, you have to take them off. Longjun said seriously. Oh. Since the girl had taken the initiative to speak, the black dragon gritted his teeth and took off his shirt, leaving only his pants on, revealing his muscular body. Longjun glanced at his long pants and frowned. Take off your pants too. That's not good, right? The black dragon's face turned red. He instinctively grabbed his pants. If he took them off, they would be locked up. Forget it, let's do it. Longjun saw his hesitation and did not rush him. Let's begin. With that, she reached out a hand to him. The black dragon's entire body turned as red as a shrimp. His heart felt like it was about to jump out of his chest. He could not help but reach out his trembling hand. It looked like he was about to grab this jade-like hand. Longjun suddenly turned her palm and grabbed his wrist. Then she swung her hand forcefully. What? The black dragon only heard a gust of wind beside his ears. His entire body was thrown into the air. A huge dragon aura pressed down on him, forcing him back into his dragon form. Were all dragon ladies so direct? He didn't have time to react, and a scorching aura immediately hit him in the face. He looked down subconsciously, only to see a huge pool of lava below him. The boiling lava was bubbling, and he was falling straight into the middle. Ah! The black dragon jumped in fright and screamed. For a moment, he forgot about the cloud-soaring sorcery. What was going on? I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Just as he was about to fall into the lava, a burst of light suddenly flashed, and he stopped less than 5 feet away from the lava. Rumbling sounds could be heard as something rose up from the lava below him. There was a huge ball on top of it, and it rose to the position of the formation, pressing against his dragon abdomen. The black dragon did not have time to react. His body seemed to be out of his control. He wrapped himself tightly around the ball. It's getting late. You can familiarize yourself with its aura first. Longjun's worried voice came from below. Tomorrow, I will teach you how to hatch it. Please try your best and hatch my child as soon as possible. Hatch? What? He looked down and saw a snow-white object stuck tightly to his belly. It was round and big, with a faint dragon aura, and there were layers of dragon patterns on it. This was a dragon egg. All he felt was a ding in his head, and all the fan bubbles disappeared with a pop. Only then did he realize what had happened. Could it be that she was looking for her husband just to incubate eggs? And it was her son. W. 2 hours later in the front hall. Exalted Goddess. A figure pounced on Shining, who was sitting on a chair. His voice was filled with grief. Even Shining, who had eaten 5 plates of fruits, was shocked. She subconsciously lifted her leg and stepped on his face, causing his face to sink into the ground. What the hell? It hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Exalted Goddess, it's me, it's me. The person on the ground hurriedly slapped the ground and begged for mercy. Longworm? Shining lifted her foot and glanced at the disheveled man, who was pulling his head out of the ground. She had only been eating fruits. How did he end up like this? She looked down. Why was his pants torn? Was it cool? What's wrong with you? The black dragon was stunned. Suddenly, he remembered something sad and became listless. Exalted Goddess, so Longjun is that supreme divinity. She doesn't like me at all. Sob, 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 sob. Oh, did anyone doubt that? The more he spoke, the sadder he became. He wanted to hug Shen Ying's leg for comfort, but was kicked away again. She took me in as her husband just to incubate her eggs. Oh, she even wanted me to incubate for 4 hours every day until they hatch. Oh, I didn't expect her to have an egg. I don't have a chance anymore. Sob, 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 sob. I'm so sad. Oh, I heard that the egg hasn't hatched even after hundreds of thousands of years. Maybe I'll have to incubate for hundreds of thousands of years too. The key is someone else's son. Oh, that's not all. That egg is huge and heavy. There's another dragon's aura on it. I'm actually not her only egg-incubating dragon. Air. Is that what you care about? Exalted goddess. Seeing that Shening had no intention of comforting him, the black dragon's heart ached even more. I've been gone for so long. Don't you have anything to say? He looked up pitifully. His expression was one of comfort, concern and hug. The corner of Shen Ying's mouth twitched. She sighed and said, "Long worm. Pitiful, pitiful, pitiful. Was the egg you incubated white?" Yes. The black dragon paused. It was about the same size as your human form. The one with silver patterns on it? Yes. How did the exalted goddess know? Then, Shening pointed outside the door. Was it the same as the one behind you? Huh. Black dragon was taken aback. She subconsciously turned around and saw a huge egg rolling in from outside the door. It was heading in their direction at an extremely fast speed. Dragon! Dragon! Dragon egg! The black dragon's eyes widened. Why is it? Ouch! Before he could finish speaking, the dragon egg seemed to have rolled too fast and directly knocked into the black dragon's body. With a thud, it knocked him away and stopped steadily in front of Shening. Shening scanned the egg, which was as tall as a human. It was indeed a huge egg. But here was the problem. Long worm. She poked at the eggshell and asked seriously, "Can this be eaten?" The smell was so familiar. The black dragon finally reacted. He climbed up from the ground. Exalted goddess, don't joke around. But how did this egg get here? He looked around carefully, but did not find anyone else's aura. Dragon eggs cannot leave the incubation pool for too long. Exalted goddess, what are you doing? You really want to eat it? The black dragon hurriedly grabbed onto a certain person who was climbing up the egg. He held onto her hands tightly. Exalted goddess, I beg you. This really can't be eaten. You can't be eaten. The person who was about to climb up the egg asked, "Just one bite?" Not even one bite. This was her son, not an ordinary egg. Wait. You can't bite it, exalted goddess. Roared suddenly, an angry dragon roar could be heard. The ground shook. Who is it? Who dares to kidnap my son? The black dragon's heart sank. It's over. Not far away, a huge red dragon silhouette shot into the sky. The entire sky seemed to have been set ablaze. It turned into a sea of red. Following that, dragons flew up from all directions. They seemed to be searching for something. That was Longjun. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Oh, greater than over equal to greater than over equal to. Oh. Chapter 246. The black dragon's heart tightened. Seeing that there were more and more dragons in the sky, he hurriedly raised his head and shouted, "Supreme divinity, the egg is here." The angry dragon in the sky paused, and then looked towards the front hall. When she saw the egg at the side, her eyes widened. She immediately recognized the person on the ground. "It's you." She opened her mouth and let out a dragon roar. Instantly, an overwhelming dragon aura pressed down on them. This was the black dragon's first time facing the supreme divinity's aura head-on. Instantly, he felt a metallic taste in his mouth and almost vomited blood. Knowing that she was angry, he hurriedly explained, "Supreme divinity, you've misunderstood. I didn't steal the dragon egg." The dragon in the sky flew down. The other dragons all transformed back into human forms and landed in the yard in front of them. "I don't know why the egg rolled here. I was just about to send it back," the black dragon hurriedly explained. "But don't worry, the dragon egg is fine." Crack. Before he could finish speaking, he heard something shattering beside him. He suddenly had a bad premonition. He turned to look and saw that the originally pure white eggshell had started to crack from the top. In the blink of an eye, the entire dragon egg was covered in wildfire. More and more of it was spreading. A certain foodie was standing beside the egg, holding onto the top piece of eggshell. The black dragon. Exalted goddess. Can't you trick me one last time? Little dragon. Longjun screamed. Her eyes widened as she stared at the cracked egg. Instantly, she exploded with anger. I'll kill you. With that, she transformed back into her dragon form. As if she had gone mad with anger, she forgot all about her spells and talents. She opened her mouth and bit down on the two of them, along with the entire front hall. Wait, Supreme Divinity. The black dragon wanted to say something, but it was too late. The sky filled with dragon aura pressed him to the ground. There was a rumbling sound all around. The front hall collapsed. Sharp dragon teeth pierced through the roof and descended from the sky. They were about to swallow the two people in the house. Shen Ying, who was below, reached out and caught the longest dragon tooth above her head. The dragon's mouth remained open, unable to move. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't close it. She swung her hand to the side, and with a rumble, the giant dragon was thrown to the ground. She pressed her hand on the dragon's head. Longjun was shocked. She wanted to struggle, but she found that the hand on her head was extremely heavy. Her entire body was suppressed, and she could not move. Calm down. An indifferent voice came from above his head, with a slightly lazy tone. Only then did Longjun see the woman in front of her. She paused, but realized that the woman was not looking at her. Instead, she was looking at the cracked egg beside her. He didn't know if it was because the other party was too calm, but for some reason, the anger he felt from losing his son suddenly disappeared. He followed her gaze and looked at the dragon egg. The egg was still cracking, and the cracks were like a spider web. Finally, with a crack, a piece of eggshell fell off, and a golden light shone from the egg. As more and more eggshell fell, the golden light became brighter and brighter. When the eggshell completely fell off, dazzling golden light spread in all directions. Even the sky that was dyed red by the lava turned a bit golden. This is. Longjun looked at the center of the golden light in disbelief. The dragon egg had successfully hatched. In the center, where the golden light was the brightest, a figure slowly formed. In a short while, a figure only as tall as Shen Ying's waist appeared in midair. The next moment, the golden light finally dimmed. Shen Ying subconsciously reached out and caught the falling figure. Looking down, she saw a child who looked about 6 or 7 years old. His eyes were closed, and he lay naked in her arms. He was extremely skinny, and his cheeks were slightly sunken in. He was obviously not as nutritious as the giant egg from before. Here, give it to your son. Shen Ying turned and pushed the child towards the dragon's head. Longjun's reaction was extremely fast. In an instant, she returned to her human form and received the child. She looked at the child in her arms excitedly and nervously. Longer, you're finally out. She hurriedly took out a long robe and wrapped it around the child's body. She looked at the child in her arms carefully, and a look of confusion flashed across her face. He can already transform. Why is he so weak? Maybe he's been holding it in for too long, Shen Ying suddenly replied. She waved the piece of eggshell in her hand. Longjun paused, then reacted. She immediately understood what Shen Ying meant. I'm sorry. Longjun has misunderstood you. Longer was too weak. There was no way he could break out of the eggshell on his own. He could only break it from the outside. But the dragon race had always been strong. There was no one who could not break out of the eggshell. The strange thing was that her son could transform into a human form in the egg. Why couldn't he break out of the eggshell naturally? And looking at how weak he was now, if he broke out of the eggshell any later, he might. Longjun did not dare to think further. As she channeled God power into the child in her arms, she looked at Shen Ying seriously. Thank you, fellow Taoist, for saving my son's life. How should I address you, benefactor? Oh, my name is Shen Ying, Shen Ying replied casually. She continued to look at the eggshell in her hands thoughtfully. Fellow Taoist Shen. Longjun looked at her son gratefully. If fellow Taoist doesn't mind, can you stay in the Dragon Palace for a few more days? Let me thank you on behalf of Long. There There's no need. She glanced at the child in her arms. I still need to find someone. Oh, who are you looking for? Perhaps I Long Yuan can help. Really? Of course. I'm looking for. Exalted goddess. Before they could finish, the black dragon suddenly interrupted. There's no hurry to find someone. You two can talk, but can you not step on me? I'm still on the ground. Shening. Longzhen. When did he get on the ground? The two of them moved their feet. Longzhen thought of her son in her arms. Fellow Taoist Shen, my son is too weak now. Let me bring him down to recuperate. I'll tell you more about the search later, alright? Alright. Shening nodded. Longzhen turned around with her son in her arms. She gave some instructions to the maidservants outside, and was about to carry her son to the back palace. She stopped in her tracks and looked down. Her son, who had been sleeping soundly a moment ago, had opened his eyes at some point in time. He reached out a small hand from her arms and grabbed onto Xinying's sleeve tightly. Long ere this is, Xinying's sleeve tightened. She paused. What? She was about to retract her hand when the child held on even tighter. He opened his mouth anxiously, as if using all his strength to make a sound. A moment later he said, Master Xining. Longzhen. The black dragon. What was going on? The three of them were stunned. Even Longzhen looked confused. She did not understand why her son would suddenly call him master. But she did not feel conflicted. She smiled and said, It looks like my son is fated with you. I have to prepare a big gift in advance. The black dragon could not help but say, This kid really knows how to talk. He knew how to suck up to someone powerful. Xining frowned. She leaned closer to take a closer look at the skinny child in front of her. Suddenly she said, Chef? The child's eyes lit up. It was as if thousands of stars were shining in them. It really was him. She tugged at his little arm and tilted her head. Can you still cook? The child, who had just woken up, paused. In the next moment his little face puffed up. Unlike the weak master he had called her just now, he replied clearly, Yes. What a good chef. Longzhen. The black dragon. Speaking of which, what did she say just now? Why did he not understand a single word she said? Chapter 247. 4 days later. Chef. Master. What's going on? I don't know. Perhaps it's as the god fiend said. The divine underworld is the highest level of the three realms. It's different from the mortal and immortal realms. So it makes sense that there would be some changes. Is there a way to solve this? I'm afraid it'll be difficult. This is the divine underworld after all. Perhaps only when we return to the mortal and immortal realms will it be the same as before. Oh, then what do we do? I will try my best to be the same as before. Oh, then good luck. Shening nodded and patted the little bean on the shoulder. The divine world actually doesn't have small animals like pigs, cows, and sheep. I can't even get used to eating them. Yes, master. I Ching, who had to move 2 stools to reach the stove, nodded hard. He held the spatula with both hands and waved it with difficulty. This dragon abyss spirit swine has firm meat. It will definitely be able to taste like pork. I'll leave it to you. Yes. Oh yes, add more spiciness. I like spicy food. Yes, master, no problem, master. He waved the spatula even harder. The black dragon watching. What on earth were these two doing? Wasn't that Longzhen's son who was still recuperating? Why did he come here the moment he was able to walk? Why did he bring his own pots and pans and ingredients? And what's with the exalted goddess? It's fine if he doesn't have any sense of shame. But why is he holding a bowl and watching? He's almost drooling. What's with that well-practiced commanding tone? Look carefully. That person who's about to be buried in the pot is a child. A child? Doesn't your conscience hurt? Master, it's done. I Ching finally stopped waving the spatula. His 2 little hands struggled to pick up the plate that was wider than his body. All right, let's eat. Shening picked up the other dishes and was about to go out when she saw the black dragon standing at the door with a dumbfounded look on his face. Longworm, come and help me carry the dishes. Oh, the black dragon subconsciously responded before walking in. With a stomach full of questions, he picked up the other dishes on the stove. Just as he was about to step out of the door, he noticed that a certain kid was standing on a tall stool, staring at the ground some distance away. His little face was scrunched up. Is he unable to get down? The black dragon hurriedly put down the vegetables in his hands and reached out to him. Why don't I carry? You get down. Before he could finish speaking, he suddenly raised his little hand and made a hand seal. In an instant, a white immortal sword appeared under his feet. With a whoosh, the sword flew in front of him. In the next moment, a soft but somewhat serious voice came from the room. Master, try the stir-fried spirit swine. The black dragon, who was about to reach out with both hands. Do all the children of the dragon race know how to fly swords the moment they are born? The black dragon froze for a while, then picked up the dishes on the stove and walked into the room. The two of them were already seated in the house. Perhaps because she was starving, Shining was devouring more than 10 dishes on the table at lightning speed. Delicious, delicious, delicious. And Chef, who was sitting on the other side, was holding an empty bowl. He reached out to the bucket of rice beside him, but because of his height, his pair of short hands could not reach it no matter how he stretched out. His little face frowned. He simply stood on the chair and grabbed the bucket of rice. After filling the bowl with difficulty, he turned his hand and very naturally handed it to the person beside him. Master Rice. Oh. A certain someone took it very shamelessly and ate noisily. The black dragon. Why did he feel that this scene was getting weirder the more he looked at it? Did he put it the other way around? 2 hours later, a certain someone who was finally full lay on the table like mud. Indeed, it was necessary to have a chef when going out. This spirit swine tastes good. If we can't find beef or mutton in the divine realm, it's not bad to find some seafood that we haven't eaten before. Yes, master, no problem, master. A certain someone who was still standing on the chair took out a small notebook from somewhere and wrote the word seafood on it. Oh yes, there's also small animals like rabbit meat, chicken meat, duck meat and so on. A certain someone hugged the little notebook and continued to write, jotting it down. Don't worry, master. Although ingredients in the divine realm are hard to find, and there are no ordinary animals like these in the immortal and mortal realms, I will definitely work hard to find spirit mounts that taste similar to these. All the best, I have high hopes for you. Yes, master. The black dragon became more and more confused. Wait, why was this conversation so strange? Wasn't this child just born? Why did he look like he was very familiar with the mortal and immortal realms? And from the time they started cooking, the two of them had a natural and familiar attitude. From your words, why do you sound like you've known each other for a long time? Yes. Chef straightened his little body and said with some pride, I'm Master's only disciple. He specially emphasized the word only. After thinking for a while he added, starting from the 3 azure realms. 3 azure realms. The black dragon's eyes widened as he looked him up and down. Stop joking. He was a natural dragon. How could he go to the lower realm? Let's put it this way, he said with a serious expression. My Dao name is I Ching. I Ching. I Ching. The black dragon stood up abruptly. You're the I Ching that exalted goddess is looking for. Isn't that invincible sex? Aren't you Long Zhen's son? His little face frowned. Actually, he didn't know either. He turned to look at the person beside him. Shening then got up from the table and looked at Chef, who was several sizes smaller. She said, I forgot to ask, how did you become like this? This matter? I don't know what happened. I Ching shook his little head. After I was transported to the divine realm, I was in that egg. My body suddenly became very weak. Later, I sensed Master's aura and chased after her. Only then did Master let me out. Could it be possession? The black dragon's eyes widened. Ouch. Before he could finish speaking, Shening hit the back of his head with her chopsticks. No. That's right. This is indeed my body. I Ching nodded affirmatively. Apart from becoming like this, my cultivation, spirit root and meridians are the same as before. This is my previous body. The black dragon. If it wasn't, then it wasn't. Why did she hit him? Then what about Long Zhen's original son? I don't know. He shook his head. When I was in the dragon egg, I was the only one inside. There was no one else's aura. Then what happened? The black dragon looked confused. The more he listened, the more confused he became. That was clearly a dragon egg. It couldn't have been empty from the beginning. I Ching fell silent. He didn't know what was going on either. Shening poured herself a cup of tea. Suddenly, she nudged the black dragon beside her and said, "Long worm, go and call that person over." Who? The black dragon paused. Shening pointed at Chef. His mother. Oh. Indeed, if anyone knew about this, it would only be Long Zhen. But, although he understood, why did it sound like she was scolding him? Chapter 248. Long Zhen arrived very quickly. I Ching had just cleared the table when the black dragon brought her in. Sun Long. The moment they entered the room, Long Zhen's cold expression changed. She smiled like a loving mother, and appeared in front of I Ching in a flash. She looked him up and down. "Why are you here? You've just hatched and you're weak. You've only just woken up. You shouldn't be running around. Even if you want to cultivate as soon as possible, you don't have to be in such a hurry to meet your future master, right?" She adjusted his clothes and reached out to carry him. "How are you? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Tell me." I Ching's expression froze. He hurriedly took a few steps back. After putting some distance between them, he cupped his fists and bowed like an adult. "Supreme Divinity Long Zhen." Long Zhen paused, then smiled even wider. "You're my son indeed. So obedient." She looked proud. "But you don't have to do that in front of me. Supreme Divinity Long Zhen." I Ching tried his best to look serious. Unfortunately, his childish face looked out of place. I might not be your son." Long Zhen froze. "Silly child. What are you talking about?" She continued smiling. "Don't joke with me. Supreme Divinity, I'm not joking," I Ching said respectfully. "My name is I Ching. I'm the only disciple of the invincible sect in the immortal world." He turned to look at the person who was sprawled lazily on the table. "Please forgive me, Supreme Divinity. I woke up a few days ago, and did not have time to explain before I went back to sleep. Actually, I did not want to be her disciple. She's my master, Shening. Immortal world. Master?" I Ching told her everything that had happened. "We came to the divine world to look for someone. I don't know why I entered that dragon egg and became like this, but I'm really not your son." Long Zhen was stunned. She looked at her grown-up son, and Shening beside him. Surprisingly, there was no sadness or anger on her face. Instead, she smiled at him. "I see. AI, why didn't you say so earlier?" The more she smiled, the happier she became. She glared at him as if she was complaining. "I was wondering why you've been so cold to me these past few days." Just as he recovered a little, he disappeared without a trace. "So that's how it is. You still remember what happened in your previous life?" This time, it was the other's turn to be at a loss. Previous life. What does that mean? Long air. She turned to look at I Ching's face. Her eyes darkened, filled with complicated emotions. It was as if she was looking at something else through him. She did not speak for a long time. This face, it was clearly. I Ching frowned and called out, "Supreme Divinity Long Zhen." Long Zhen paused for a moment before reacting. She smiled awkwardly and continued, "There's no need to doubt it. You are indeed my son." As if she had thought of something, she clenched her fists and hesitated for a while before saying in a low voice, "When you were born, you were different from others. The dragon energy on the dragon egg was sparse, and the dragon soul was extremely weak. I heard that the power of reincarnation can nourish your dragon soul. So, you sent him into samsara?" Shenying's eyes narrowed. "Just like Shorty?" "Yes." She nodded. "After I sent his dragon soul into samsara, I searched for male dragons in the clan, and nourished the body inside the dragon egg with dragon energy every day. I had planned to summon his soul back after his dragon soul had recovered. But I did not expect you to cultivate your mortal body into an immortal body, and come to the divine world. Everyone who goes through samsara will forget their past lives. Even if I summon your dragon soul back to the divine world, you would have to go through samsara again. That's why I thought you had forgotten about it too." She looked at I Ching again, and something flashed across her eyes. But I did not expect you to come back so early. What's more, you ascended directly from the divine world. Whether it's the dragon body in the egg, or your immortal body after reincarnation, they are both your bodies. It's normal for them to be connected. Perhaps because of this, you have become one with the dragon body in the egg. Two became one. Shening and I Ching exchanged a look. But they did not ascend here. They were smuggled here by godfiends. So, you are indeed my long heir. Long Zhen stepped forward and looked lovingly at the shrunken I Ching. She exuded the glow of an old mother. I personally sent your dragon soul down to the lower realm. I cannot be wrong. I Ching stiffened. He did not know if he was not used to her overly enthusiastic attitude, but he took another step back. That meant that his previous body had become one with the egg. Was he a human or a dragon now? Why can I still sense the immortal bones in my body, even though my body has become like this? His cultivation level, his spirit root, and even his sword intent were the same as before. There is no dragon power. Long Zhen's smile deepened. You have never sensed dragon chi before, have you? Dragon chi? I Ching hesitated. He subconsciously released his divine perception. Immediately, an unfamiliar aura surged in. He felt his sea of consciousness ring and something open. His body flashed with golden light. The next moment, the little bean on the ground disappeared, and a shining golden dragon appeared in the room. In an instant, it broke the roof, and the broken tiles fell to the ground. Master. I Ching subconsciously turned to block Shenying's head. This caused the room to become even more ruined. In an instant, everything fell to the ground. Everything happened too quickly. By the time they reacted, only Long Worm and Long Zhen were left on the ground, their heads covered in dust. The giant dragon had already retreated a short distance away, and was carefully coiling around Shening. Although the dragon was not as tall as Black Dragon and Long Zhen, its entire body seemed to be bathed in sunlight. It was blinding. Gold. Gold. Golden dragon. The black dragon completely ignored the dust. He opened his mouth and looked at the dragon opposite him in shock. Long Zhen was shocked too. She did not expect her son to be a golden dragon. No wonder. No wonder back then, legend had it that golden dragons were the royalty of the dragon race. They were far more powerful than the other dragons. But golden dragons had only appeared in ancient times. I Ching was shocked too. He activated all the immortal qi in his body, and found that it had become even thicker and more shocking. Could this be divine power? Chef. Shening raised her head. It really was a dragon. Only then did I Ching recover from the shock of his sudden transformation. He tried to use a spell to change back to his human form, but his body shrank, and instantly turned into a small dragon that was as tall as a human. Master, I'm not familiar with the control of divine power yet. I can't change back so quickly. He had not gotten used to his dragon form, and did not know how to transform. He tried a few times but could not change back. He could only stand on his two hind legs and pretend that he was walking. Oh, Shening did not care about this. She only looked at his thin dragon claws. Chef. Master, can you still cook when you're like this? The two dragons. Are you only concerned about your own food? Fu *K. A moment later, a resolute reply came. Yes. As if to prove it, a certain dragon turned and ran into the kitchen that had not collapsed. He grabbed the spatula with one claw, the black dragon. What happened to the royalty of the dragon race? Long Zhen. I might have given birth to a fake son. Chapter 249. The son that Long Zhen had been looking forward to for hundreds of thousands of years was finally back. What's more, he was the legendary golden dragon. Long Zhen felt that this was perfect. If only he did not like to cook so much. She looked at the golden dragon who had been busy in the kitchen since noon. Long Zhen wanted to stop him. After all, he had just turned back into a dragon, and needed more time to cultivate. But because he was doing this out of filial piety towards Master, she could not say anything. So before she knew it, she was already sitting at the table and eating with him. Straight face, Master, have some tea. I Ching, who was still in the form of a little golden dragon, handed a cup of tea to someone who had just finished her afternoon tea. Oh, Shenning accepted it out of habit. She looked at Chef, who was sitting obediently at the side like a cartoon dragon, pressing his claws together. She finally remembered something important. Chef, Master, can't you turn back into a human? I Ching's dragon head drooped. Not yet. Although the black dragon had already told him how to turn back into a human, he was still not familiar with this body. What's more, every time he used his god power, he would feel strangely tired. He just broke out of his shell. His body is weak. It's normal that he can't turn back into a human, Long Zhen explained. Are dragons that weak? Shenning asked. Not really. Long Zhen frowned. Maybe he's different from other dragons. Oh, Master. I Ching suddenly recalled something. I remember that ever since I entered that egg, there seemed to be an aura suppressing me. I could not break out. Also, he frowned. The more I resisted, the weaker my body became. It was very likely because of this that he turned into this child. There's such a thing. Long Zhen was shocked. She stood up and looked him up and down. What aura is that? I Ching shook his head. I don't know either. I know, Shenning suddenly said. The three dragons were shocked, and turned to look at her in unison. What did she mean? Shenning took out a white object from her side. Is it this? Everyone was stunned. Even Long Zhen looked curiously at the thing in her hand. It was the piece of eggshell that she had dug out from the dragon egg a few days ago. Exalted goddess, what aura is there on it? The black dragon took a closer look. There was nothing on the eggshell. He's inside. She reached out and tore off the layer of membrane on the inside of the eggshell. Halfway through, a black chi suddenly flashed out of the eggshell. It was extremely fast. Just as it was about to rush out, Shenning reached out and grabbed it back. In the next moment, a black, smoke-like gas appeared in her hand. It was twisting desperately as if it were alive. It had a cold and gloomy aura, and it would occasionally let out a shrill scream, like the cry of a ghost. The aura became fainter and fainter in her hands, and in a short while it disappeared. This is the yin qi of a ghost immortal. Long Zhen was shocked. Her eyes widened and she stood up abruptly. How can this be? I've been taking care of my son's dragon egg all these years. How can there be a ghost immortal's yin qi hidden inside? What's a ghost immortal? Shenning tilted her head. Long Zhen frowned, her expression exceptionally dark. Ghost immortals are deviant ghosts from the underworld, who cultivate to become immortals. Their cultivation methods are very special, and their cultivation techniques are very strange. Many divine races can't do anything to them, but their whereabouts are always uncertain, and they won't easily come to divine territory. Deviant ghosts becoming immortals? It was not just I Ching. Even the black dragon was shocked. Ghosts were living beings. After they died, their grievances would not dissipate, and they would float around the world. Usually, they would only appear in the mortal realm. In short, they were just souls without bodies. And souls were the weakest. No one had ever heard of a ghost being able to cultivate to become an immortal, much less one that could rival divine races. Where do these ghost immortals usually stay? Ghost immortals need to absorb the yin qi of the underworld to cultivate, Long Zhen said. That's why they usually appear near the Yin River. Supreme Divinity, did you have a feud with a ghost immortal before? I Ching asked. Long Zhen glanced at I Ching, unhappy with the way he addressed her, but she could only sigh. I don't think so. In these hundreds of thousands of years, I've never left the dragon abyss, and I've never seen a ghost immortal. That was strange. Why would there be yin qi of a ghost immortal in a perfectly good dragon egg? And it happened to suppress I Ching, preventing him from hatching on his own. If Shenning had not forcefully broken the eggshell, perhaps he really would not have been able to come out. The dragon abyss has never interacted with other places. Even the Dragon Valley rarely interacts. If you're talking about feuding, I don't. She suddenly stopped mid-sentence, as if remembering something. Her face paled and her fists clenched tightly. I just remembered something important. I'm going back to the main hall. Long. I Ching, your body is still very weak. You have to rest more. With that, she nodded at the few of them and hurried out. The few of them looked confused. Shenning tilted her head. It looked like Chef's family in his previous life had a story too. After Longjin left, she suddenly became busy. She did not come back for a few days. It was obvious that she was looking for that ghost immortal. These few days, Chef was also trying hard to adapt to his dragon body. He only focused on two things every day: familiarize himself with the circulation of God power, and cook for Shining. Fortunately, he was originally a top student. After trying a few times, he finally succeeded in transforming back into that little bean. Perhaps it was because he had begun to absorb the dragon energy for cultivation. His originally skinny body had finally gained some flesh. He looked like a baby, but he still did not grow in size. The dragon race had always relied on bloodline inheritance. Cultivation methods and whatnot did not need to be taught. He was born with it. The god power in his body began to grow at an alarming rate. In just a few days, he was already catching up to the black dragon. The black dragon felt very depressed. Originally, he wanted to go to Longjun to make his presence known. Unfortunately, he did not see her for a few days, so he could only come back to Shining for comfort. But I Ching guarded against him like a thief. If he took a step closer, the black dragon looked like he wanted to hit him with a spatula. The black dragon felt like he had been abandoned by the whole world. 10 days later, "Master, my cultivation has stabilized." I Ching poured a cup of tea and stood on the chair. His little body was almost lying on the table. Then, he passed the cup of tea to Shining. The other party took it with a natural expression, took a sip and said, "Are you ready?" "Yes." "Oh, what about the dishes?" "I've prepared them for half a month." "Pastries?" 20-odd kinds. "Fruits?" 2 storage bags should be enough." "All right." Shining then stood up lazily. "Let's go." I Ching jumped down from the chair. Seeing the 2 figures, one tall and one short, about to leave, the black dragon finally reacted. "Wait." He blocked the 2 of them. "Where are you going?" Chapter 250. I Ching frowned and looked at him coldly. "The Ain River of the underworld." "Get out of my way, you little bastard." "Ain River." Black Dragon was taken aback. "Why are you going there? When did you decide that? Why don't I know anything about it? I don't even know you. Not familiar." The black dragon felt as if his heart had been stabbed by a knife. He looked at Shining and cried, "Exalted goddess! Didn't you say I'm your little cutie?" "We're going to look for Shorty," Shining explained. "Shorty? Who?" The black dragon was stunned. After a while he remembered that this was one of the 3 people that the exalted goddess was looking for. "Exalted goddess, you know where she is?" "Yes." Shining nodded. The Ain Chi on the eggshell was exactly the same as the one on the flower in Shorty's room. In the netherworld, the black dragon was still confused. He glanced at I Ching, who was acting like a child. But Longjun is not back yet. I will let her know," I Ching said. "But..." Black Dragon was about to say something when a maidservant rushed in and bowed to I Ching. She said anxiously, "Young master, bad news." In order to avenge the young lord, divinity single-handedly went to Wuxia Mountain. "Wuxia Mountain?" I Ching's expression darkened. "Speak clearly. What happened?" Supreme Divinity said that the Ain Chi on the young master's eggshell might be related to the Phoenix clan. So in a fit of anger, the maidservant stamped her feet anxiously, her face full of anxiety. "The Phoenix clan has always been unreasonable. I'm afraid that Supreme Divinity will be at a disadvantage if you go there." I Ching clenched his fists and turned to look at the person beside him. "Master, let's go to the West Mountain first." Wuxia Mountain was the headquarters of the Phoenix clan, and the Dragon clan and the Phoenix clan had always been at odds with each other. The Dragon race couldn't stand the arrogant attitude of the Phoenix race, and the Phoenix race couldn't stand the fact that the Dragon race had all kinds of bloodlines, and that all kinds of dragons, snakes, and fishes could become dragons. Therefore, although they were both of the god race, the 2 races never had any friendly relations. But Longjun was not an unreasonable person. She was so angry that she rushed to Wuxia Mountain to seek revenge. She must have found something. Perhaps it was because he had become a divine being, but I Ching's flying speed was much faster than before. In addition, The Dragon Abyss had a transportation array that was connected to the Phoenix clan. In less than an hour, they arrived at the Phoenix clan's territory. Before they even reached Wuxia Mountain, they could see lightning flashing and thunder roaring in the distance. Not far away, the sky was filled with dark clouds. From time to time, there would be lightning flashes in the sky, accompanied by loud booms. Below the clouds was a fiery red. The entire ground was covered in flames, and a scorching aura assaulted their faces. I Ching made a hand seal and set up an isolation array around the two of them. Only then did he rush into the half-flame and half-lightning world. "Little Zhen, what are you doing?" A man's voice came from the flames on the ground, with a hint of helplessness in his tone. "When have I ever offended you that you want to attack me?" "Shut up." Long Zhen stood in the sky full of lightning. She was so angry that her body trembled. "You dared to plant ghost immortal Yin Qi in my son's egg. You should have thought that this day would come." "Yin Qi." The man paused. Instantly, a slender figure walked out of the flames. He was dressed in blue and had long red hair, just like the flames behind him. He was extremely beautiful, and there was a cinnabar dot between his eyebrows. His entire body exuded a seductive aura. He looked at the woman in front of him in surprise. "What, Yin Qi? What's wrong with your precious dragon egg? You're still pretending." Long Zhen was even angrier. The lightning around her increased. She glared at the man and said, "Feng San, don't think I don't know. You were the one who sent the person who told me that I could use the power of reincarnation to save my son." The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. She looked at the man as if she wanted to pluck out all his feathers. "I didn't think that you would take the opportunity to instruct a ghost immortal to plant Yin Qi in the egg. You almost sucked my son dry." If I Ching had not returned to this world as an immortal and merged with his dragon body, if his master had not forcefully broken the eggshell, perhaps, the more Long Zhen thought about it, the more she trembled. "Feng San, I don't think I did anything wrong to you back then. You know how important my son is to me. Why did you do this to me?" I didn't." "Little Zhen, I really don't like the dragon egg you've given birth to," Feng San said with a confused expression. "I really don't like the dragon egg you laid. I was the one who sent you to send the dragon soul into reincarnation, but I really didn't ask anyone to plant Yin Qi in it." "You're still trying to argue? In the entire divine realm, apart from you, a wandering phoenix, who else would have a relationship with a ghost immortal?" Feng San's face paled. He seemed to want to explain himself. Long Zhen obviously did not want to listen to him anymore. The lightning around her became even fiercer. Like a sharp blade, she attacked Feng San. Feng San could only dodge and summon a wall of fire to block the lightning. "Little Zhen, listen to me. Why would I harm you?" "Shut up." Long Zhen's attacks became more and more intense. She attacked as if she was going to die. At first, Feng San could still defend himself. But as time went on, he found it harder and harder to defend himself. Just as he was about to be hit by the lightning, a defensive array appeared in front of him. It absorbed the attack and reflected it back at him. Long Zhen could not dodge in time and was hit. "Little Zhen." Feng San was shocked. He did not expect this to happen. He tried to fly forward in a panic. Long Zhen took a step back and covered the area where she was hit. She gritted her teeth and endured the pain in her chest. The hatred in her eyes intensified. She summoned lightning and forced Feng San to retreat again. Her eyes turned as cold as ice. She laughed and said, "Back then, I must have been blind to have fallen in love with you." Feng San's body stiffened. He seemed to have heard something shocking. His eyes widened in disbelief. "Little Zhen, what did you just say?" "I thought you were different from the other phoenixes. I didn't expect you to be even more shameless than him. It's fine if you don't want to acknowledge my son, but you want to take his life." What did she mean?" "Feng San, I, Long Zhen, will sever all ties with you today." As soon as she finished speaking, her figure flashed, and she instantly transformed into a giant red dragon. The white lightning around her also turned red, and she charged downwards like a red lightning dragon. "Wait, Little Zhen." Long Zhen's speed was extremely fast. With a loud boom, the entire sky was filled with red lightning. Shening and Yiqing. A while later, chef. Shening bent down and patted his little shoulder comfortingly. You seem to have another father. Yiqing. Son of AB *TCH. Chapter 251. The next moment, the cry of a phoenix could be heard. A huge phoenix appeared on the ground. It was covered in rainbow-colored feathers, as if it was draped in rainbows. With a flap of its wings, it immediately dispersed the surrounding lightning. Its long tail feathers directly wrapped around the dragon's body, binding it tightly like a chain. As if it didn't want to hurt the dragon, it retracted its wings and hugged the dragon in front of it. Let go of me, Long Zhen screamed. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't break free from the other party's control. She had no choice but to turn back into her human form in a flash. Feng San reacted faster than her. He turned back into his human form and held onto the dragon. Using his larger size, he turned around and pinned her to the ground. I'm not letting go. Long Zhen was furious, but she could not move. Even her god power was being suppressed. Feng San, you bastard. Little Zhen, what did you just say? Can you say it again? Feng San looked at the person under him excitedly. His eyes were overflowing with affection. Did you just say that you like me? Little Zhen, you like me, right? Get lost. Long Zhen glared at him, her eyes filled with anger. I hate you. I wanted to pluck all your feathers off 160,000 years ago. Little Zhen. His expression darkened. He buried his head in her neck. But I like you. I've liked you since I was young. Bullsh *T. Long Zhen did not believe him. You don't even acknowledge your own son. How dare you say you like me? That dragon egg is really mine. Feng San still couldn't believe his ears. It had been so many years, and little Zhen had been guarding that egg to her death. He thought she had never fallen for him. That was why he did not dare to look for her. He did not expect that the egg was actually his. How could this be? I thought. Thought what? Long Zhen's expression turned colder. She laughed mirthlessly. You were the one who abandoned us and returned to Wuxia Mountain without saying a word. Why are you still pretending now? No. I don't know. I really don't know. Someone told me. Get lost. Long Zhen did not want to listen to him and began to struggle with all her might. Either you kill me or let me go. No, I won't let you go. Feng San hugged her even tighter. I've already lost you once. I won't let you go again. You bastard, let go. No. Let go. No. I say. Suddenly, a hesitant female voice sounded from the side. The two of them subconsciously turned their heads and saw two figures, one big and one small, squatting beside them. They looked at the two of them with constipated expressions. The corner of Shen Ying's mouth twitched. Let's flirt. Don't put on a show, okay? She would lose fans if she continued to act melodramatic. Long Zhen. Feng San. Phoenix Perching Palace. Feng San stared at the child in front of him, who did not even reach his waist. His eyes, nose, and mouth were so excited that stars seemed to float out of his eyes. The more he looked at him, the more he felt that he looked like himself. This was actually his child. It was his and little Zhen's. He stared at the child even more intently, not daring to blink for fear that he would disappear. His mouth opened and closed a few times before he managed to squeeze out two words. Call me daddy. Splat. Shen Ying could vaguely hear the sound of something breaking. The corner of Yiqing's mouth twitched. With a swoosh, an immortal sword appeared in his hand. Master, can I kill him? Shen Ying. Calm down, chef. No matter how melodramatic it was still his own child. The kind that could not be cooked. Humph. Long Zhen, who was sitting on the other side, laughed coldly. She still looked indignant. Why do you have to pretend to acknowledge us now? Feng San's face paled. He sighed and turned to walk toward her. Little Zhen, stop right there. Long Zhen glared at him. Stay away from me. Feng San had no choice but to return to his seat. I really did not know that the dragon egg back then was my child. You were so resolute with me back then. In a fit of anger, I left the dragon abyss and returned to Wuxia Mountain. After that, I heard that you had a child. I thought. You thought the child was someone else's. Long Zhen laughed coldly. Feng San hung his head, like a child who had done something wrong. It's all my fault. All these years, I did not dare to ask you personally. I missed out on you for so many years. Long Zhen snorted. She took a deep breath to suppress the anger in her heart. She closed her eyes and said, I don't want to talk about what happened in the past anymore. I just want to ask you, what's going on with the Yin Qi and the dragon egg? I really don't know what Yin Qi is. Feng San said anxiously. I do know one or two ghost immortals, but I only met them by chance when I was crossing the Yin River. Yin River? Longzhen paused. When did you go to the Yin River? Feng San paused, as if he had let something slip. He subconsciously turned to look at the little figure standing beside Shining. Longzhen finally reacted. Her eyes widened. The person who broke into the underworld and sent the dragon soul into samsara was you. Her expression changed. How is that possible? I clearly asked. I was the one who told him not to say. Feng San sighed. I know you best. If you knew it was me, you would not have agreed to help. Longzhen fell silent. She hated him to the core. How could she have accepted his help? Feng San took a step forward. The love in his eyes seemed to be overflowing. He sighed and said, You don't have to worry about it. When I crossed the Yin River by force, I met a few ghost immortals by the river. Unfortunately, I was corroded by the Yin River's death qi. I accidentally awakened the ancient fire phoenix bloodline and became a divine supreme. It was a blessing in disguise. At that time, the dragon soul in the egg was too weak. It could not withstand any reincarnation sorcery. That was why it could only be sent to the underworld's reincarnation stage. To get to the reincarnation stage, one had to cross the Yin River. Feng San said this casually, but the Yin River's water could corrode one's divine soul. It was not that easy. He must have had no choice but to forcefully awaken it. Longzhen frowned. She could not tell what she was feeling. She thought that he had let her down, and then left the dragon abyss, because he did not want to acknowledge their children. She did not expect that he was the one who sent the dragon soul into samsara. I really don't know what happened to the Yin Qi and the dragon egg. Feng San lowered his voice and said carefully, but I promise you that I will help you find out. How about that? Longzhen glanced at him. A complicated look flashed across her eyes. A moment later, she calmed down and returned to her usual coldness. There's no need. She closed her eyes. When she opened them again, her expression was resolute. On account of how you sent my son into samsara, I will let bygones be bygones. I will look into the Yin Qi myself. With that said, she stood up and prepared to leave. Little Zhen. Feng San panicked. In a flash, not only did he appear in front of her, but he also conjured a seal to freeze Longzhen in place. He hugged her and said, I will never let you leave me again. All these years, you have always been the only one in my heart. Longzhen stopped in her tracks. Her expression was still cold, but her hands started to tremble. Feng San continued, Little Zhen, let's not miss each other again. Please trust me one more time, okay? Supreme Divinity. Just as he finished speaking, an announcement came from the door. The 438th madam has arrived. Should I arrange for her to go to the rear hall? Feng San. Shening. I Ching. AI, the slap in the face came too fast. It was like a tornado. Intersection, 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 intersection. Chapter 252. Feng San. Longzhen's body crackled. You bastard. Little Zhen, listen to me. It's not like this. Ouch. It hurts. Little Zhen. Screams rang out in the hall one after another. The master and disciple who were drinking tea calmly. Master. Yes. Should we stop them? There's no need. It had been a long time since he had watched a melodramatic family drama. It was quite refreshing. We haven't started tearing down the house yet. There's no rush. Yes, master. No problem, master. Why are you sharpening the knife? Sharpen it first. We might need to use it later. He was afraid that he would not be able to control himself and destroy this pair. Half an hour later, the two of them finally stopped. Perhaps because he was in the wrong, Feng San turned into a punching bag. No matter how Long Zhen attacked him, he had no intention of resisting. It became a one-sided beating by Long Zhen. Perhaps he had forgotten to use his sorcery, but the house did not collapse. The tables and chairs in the house, other than the one that I Ching had specially used an array to protect, were all torn to pieces. Feng San was already beaten beyond recognition. His handsome face was now swollen like a pig's head. He looked weakly at Long Zhen, not forgetting to explain. Little Zhen, it's really not what you think. Get lost. Long Zhen could not suppress the anger in her. She kicked him again. Everyone in the divine realm knows that you, Supreme Divinity Feng San, are a playboy. All the goddesses in your backyard are competing with each other for beauty. She must have been crazy to believe his nonsense. Little Zhen, believe me, this is all a misunderstanding. I did not touch a single one of them. I couldn't tell that you were a man who cherished women. Long Zhen's gaze turned even colder. Keep lying. Right, isn't the new wife here? Why isn't she coming in? I can still drink some wine at the wedding. Feng San wanted to say more, but Long Zhen had already turned and walked out. Soon she pulled someone in. That person was dressed in a red wedding gown and had a veil over her head. She was slightly taller than Long Zhen. Little Zhen. Feng San crawled up from the ground. Listen to me. The person who brought her here said that she is a stunning beauty. Long Zhen continued to smile. Even I am a little envious of your luck with women. I'm sure you won't mind. Let's take a look. After saying that, she pulled down the veil, revealing an exceptionally beautiful face. She was indeed stunning, with sharp eyebrows and red lips, full of heroic spirit. Especially her eyes, which were especially bright, as though they were shining with light, looking exceptionally familiar. Puff! The master and disciple duo who were drinking tea couldn't help but spit out 2 mouthfuls of tea. Holy shit! No way! As expected of peerless beauty, Long Zhen glanced at the person in front of her. She could not help but feel a chill in her heart. She directly stuffed the veil in her hand back into the other party's hand. Then let the two of you. You. Before she could finish speaking, her eyes widened, as though she had discovered something. The bride, who had been standing quietly a moment ago, suddenly moved in a flash. She grabbed Long Zhen in front of her, an immortal sword pressed against her neck. At the same time, an array appeared beneath them. Don't move. If you don't want to die, take me away from this godforsaken place. Little Zhen. Feng San was shocked. His expression darkened. If you dare to hurt her, I will tear you into pieces. The person's hand conjured a gust of black qi. If you don't want her to die, step back. This is Inchi. Who are you? What do you want? Could this person be a ghost immortal? Feng San's hand, which was about to cast a spell, paused. He looked anxiously at the person in his grasp. Little Zhen, don't be afraid. I will save you. Who needs you to save me? Long Zhen seemed to have lost her mind from anger. She ignored everything else and forced her way through the array. Lightning appeared on her body again, and she attacked the person behind her. The person holding her was caught off guard and was forced back a few steps. Even the yin qi in his hand dissipated. The two of them were shocked. This was not yin qi. The person's expression changed. He turned and tried to rush out of the hall. Where do you think you're going? Feng San snorted. An array lit up at the door, blocking the exit. With a twist of his hand, he summoned a ball of true phoenix fire. With a scorching aura that could burn anything, he sent it towards the person in front of him. No one in this world dared to touch little Zhen in front of him. The fire came closer and closer. It was about to burn the person. Suddenly, a figure appeared at the door. She raised her hand and caught the ball of fire. Then she clenched her fist. With a sizzling sound, the true phoenix fire was extinguished. Feng San. Shening turned to look at the person in the bride's makeup. She raised her hand and called out, Hey, Father Niu. Lone Moon, who had just escaped death, froze on the spot. A moment later, a roar reverberated through the entire hall. Hey, my ass. He swung the sword in his hand at the person's head. Where the hell did you go? Ouch, 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 ouch. Shening subconsciously held her forehead. Didn't I come looking for you? Look for your sister. Do you think I'm blind? You freaking bumped into her, didn't you? Don't mind such details. Is this a freaking detail? I was almost roasted. It's not Master's fault. I Ching hurriedly stood in front of Shenning to protect her. Unfortunately, the difference in height was too big. Half of his height could not block his anger at all. The three of us got separated. It's already a miracle that Master could find us. Lone Moon looked down and paused. Who is this little brat? I Ching. Shenning. Half an hour later. In other words, you were originally a dragon. That's why you changed back the moment you arrived in the divine realm. Lone Moon, who had just heard the whole story, looked I Ching up and down. Yes. I Ching nodded. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. No wonder this fellow cheated all the way. His cultivation level rose so quickly. He was born on the finish line. Damn it. This bunch of winners in life who reincarnated through the back door. I can't catch up even if I work myself to death. Father Neo actually. Shenning was just about to speak. Shut up. Lone Moon turned and glared at her. You were born on the podium. You have no right to speak. Oh. Long. I Ching. Long Zhen could not help but ask. Since this fellow Taoist is familiar with you, it must have been a misunderstanding. How should I address you? I Ching subconsciously replied, He's Neo. I'm Lone Moon. Neo my ass. He cupped his fists and bowed. I'm sorry. I was not clear about the situation before. I offended you. I hope Supreme Divinity will forgive me. It's all right. Long Zhen shook her head nonchalantly. Why are you here? I Ching asked. He even glanced at his wedding dress. He even changed into a woman's appearance and became a bride? If not for the fact that his face did not change, and that they were too familiar with his aura, he and Master would not have recognized him at first glance. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He frowned. A moment later he sighed and said, I found Shorty. Chapter 253. I Ching and Shenning were shocked. They asked, Where is she? Where is she? Don't worry, she should be fine now. Lone Moon frowned. When I first arrived in the divine world, I was near the underworld. I sensed the same yin qi as the flower in Xian Tong's room. So I chased it all the way to the underworld. Then I found her on the way. Little Shorty, are you all right? Shenning asked. He's fine, just slightly injured, Wang Yao said. Lone Moon seemed to recall something. His expression darkened. She was locked in a cave abode. I was not confident that I could get her out safely, so I let her go and find Shenning first. I took her place for a while, and waited for an opportunity to escape. I didn't think that I would be sent here before I could think of a plan. I was even told to marry an old sex fiend who had hundreds of wives. All of a sudden, the three screens all turned to look at a certain phoenix. The old sex fiend Feng San. Little Zhen. Feng San immediately turned to Long Zhen. Listen to me, I don't know anything about this. Long Zhen turned. It has nothing to do with me. Little Zhen. Feng San wanted to cry. Trust me this once really. Why don't I bring you to the back palace? Then you'll know how to come back. I don't want to know. Listen to me. I'm not listening. Listen to me. I'm not listening. You said I dash. Shut up. I Ching's mouth twitched. Immortal swords filled the sky, all aimed at the two of them. They had already acted out 2 chapters. Was there an end to it? If you keep talking, I'm going to attack. Feng San. Long Zhen. You're already attacking. You can spill your dog blood later. I Ching turned to look at Feng San. You should know who the person who sent Father Neo here is, right? Feng San hesitated. After thinking for a while, he said, He's from the underworld. There's only one ghost immortal I'm familiar with there. Who? Ghost immortal Zhu Ming. Feng San frowned. Then, as if thinking of something, he added, But, if it's him, then he might not be trying to harm you. Lone Moon hesitated. What do you mean? Follow me to the rear hall, and you'll know once you see it, he said as he pointed behind him. They exchanged glances, and followed Feng San to the rear hall. As soon as he stepped through the door of the rear hall, the scenery in front of him changed. The majestic hall instantly turned into a dense forest. Then, he heard the cries of phoenixes, and saw that there were dozens of phoenixes of different colors in their original forms, guarding something. Beside the phoenixes, There were a few women dressed in different clothes. There were formations set up around the phoenixes, and in the middle of each formation, there was an egg as tall as a human, with phoenix plume patterns faintly visible. This is... Long Zhen was shocked. The Phoenix clan's breeding forest. It's only temporary, Feng San replied. It had always been difficult for the Dragon clan and the Phoenix clan to have children. Every egg needed thousands of years to fully hatch, so the two clans attached great importance to this matter. Normally, after they gave birth, they would gather at one place to wait for their eggs to hatch. Even the Dragon clan, which had always been separate, would gather at the place where their eggs were hatched for safety reasons. That was why only the clansmen of each clan knew where their eggs were hatched. They are my wives, Feng San said, sounding a little aggrieved. So, Shening paused. These eggs are all yours? Pfft. Feng San almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Fellow Taoist, don't harm me even if you don't want to help. This is the place where the Phoenix clan hatches their eggs. I'm just bringing them here. Oh. She thought he was good at giving birth. I Ching, who thought he was good at giving birth. Lone Moon, who also thought so. Fortunately, he did not ask. 10,000 years ago, there was a problem with the original breeding forest of the Phoenix clan, and they could not find a new safe place. That's why they came to me. I split this mystic realm and asked them to temporarily hide here. Who knew that more and more people would come? His cultivation level was the highest among the Phoenix clan. Since they were from the same clan, he could not reject them. Even after the new breeding forest was built, there were still people from the Phoenix clan who came to ask for help. Hatching needs to be looked after from time to time. That's why I also took in some people from other clans who had nowhere else to go. The few of them took a closer look. Indeed, there were women and men in the array. There were even people from other clans as well. Then why do the people in Phoenix Perch Palace call them wives? Feng San stiffened. Awkwardness flashed across his face. That's because I heard that you, Dragon Abyss, took in many servants. I thought that's why they called you that. Oh. *3 So they were just acting out of spite? One found a bunch of servants to incubate dragon eggs. The other found a bunch of wives to incubate phoenix eggs. In a sense, these two were a match made in heaven. Long Zhen did not reply, but the anger on her face dissipated a little. The people in this mystic realm are all prepared not to leave until all the eggs hatch. That's why the people here have nowhere else to go. They just want to seek shelter. Feng San looked at Lone Moon and said, That's why Zhu Ming wanted to send your friend here. Perhaps he wanted her to stay away from something. I think the one who wants to harm her is someone else. The three of them stiffened. Father Nio, where is little Shorty now? Shening asked. Lone Moon paused. He quickly retrieved a transmission amulet and sent some immortal chi into it, but there was no response at all. How could this be? I told her to wait for me in a dense forest nearby. Let's go take a look. With that, Shening turned and walked out the door. The others glanced at each other and immediately followed. Lone Moon pulled her back. Shening, it's this way. You have no sense of direction. Don't rush ahead. Lone Moon and Little Shorty had agreed to meet in a dense forest about 50 kilometers away from Wuxia Mountain. The forest there was dense, and it was very well hidden. Coupled with the chaotic aura outside the forest, it was very difficult to find them there. But shit. Lone Moon looked at the destroyed forest in front of him. There was still some yin qi lingering on the ground. They had only been gone for less than an hour. I'd better ask Zhu Ming about the situation. Feng San looked at the few anxious people and hurriedly conjured a water mirror. A moment later, the image of a middle-aged man dressed in black appeared on the water mirror. He was surrounded by thick death qi, but his face was exceptionally peaceful. There was even a hint of a smile on his lips. Feng San, why are you so free to contact an old friend? Did you receive the gift I sent? Brother Chu, can you tell me why you sent that woman to me? What exactly happened? Feng San asked. Why did something happen to her again? Zhu Ming was shocked. Again? Feng San paused. Chapter 254. Zhu Ming frowned and sighed. That day, I sensed a special aura in the divine underworld. I followed it and realized that it was immortal qi. Then I saw that woman. She was trapped in the blood soul array at that time, so I saved her in passing. The blood soul formation. Feng San was shocked and his eyes widened. You're saying that someone wants to extract her soul? That's right. Zhu Ming nodded, his expression solemn. To be able to control the blood soul array, he must be a ghost immortal. His cultivation level is not low either. The person who set up the formation must have noticed that her immortal soul was not as strong as that of a god. So he wanted to absorb her soul to nourish his own body. That was why he set up the blood soul formation to weaken her soul body. I was afraid that if she continued to stay in the netherworld, the person who set up the formation would not let the matter rest. Thus, without waiting for her to wake up, I sent her to your place. I thought that with your ability in Fengqi Mountain, you should be able to protect her. Lone Moon. So did he marry her for nothing? Then does Brother Chu know who captured her? I don't know either. Zhu Ming shook his head. When I found her, there was only an array around her. In other words, they had no idea where to look for him. Feng San expressed his gratitude and put away the mirror. Master, I Ching looked at Shining. Given Shorty's cultivation, be it in the divine realm or the netherworld, she would be in danger. Shining frowned. Let's go to the underworld. Yes, master. A certain pair of parents hurriedly said. The underworld is too dangerous. I Ching, why don't we? There's no need. I Ching turned and glared at them. He pointed at Long Zhen and said, let's talk about this after we've settled your problem. It was enough that he had his master. Oh, disappointed asterisk, too, she felt sad, and felt that her master had given birth to her son. The netherworld was the place where the dead souls of the three realms were born. It was the complete opposite of the immortal realm, which was filled with immortal qi. At the intersection of the two realms, it was as if the heavens and earth had split into two different worlds. One side was filled with the normal green immortal qi, while the other was filled with the thick black death qi. The trio had already arrived at the netherworld. What do we do now? Lone Moon glanced at the wandering souls. I Ching cast a tracking spell, and put down his hand after a while. No, this place is full of death qi. The aura in the forest disappeared the moment it entered the underworld. Shit. Lone Moon cursed under his breath. The underworld is so big. Where am I going to find Shorty? Why don't we ask him to come find us? Shining suddenly suggested. Both of them were stunned, and turned to look at her. What do you mean? Didn't the person who captured Shorty want her immortal soul? Indeed. I Ching nodded. That blood soul array is for devouring souls. We have immortal souls here too. They would never complain about having too many, right? I Ching paused, then understood. He turned to look at a certain someone beside him. Why are you looking at me? Lone Moon glared back in frustration. It was good to lure the snake out of its hole. But, why me again? Shining. They won't be able to see me even if I go. I Ching. I am no longer an immortal. And Father Niu, didn't you not change your clothes? It just so happens that I don't need to change anymore. Who knows, maybe he likes women. Master is right. Son of AB *TCH. He understood the logic. But why did he feel the urge to slap these two to death? He took a deep breath, and suppressed his violent nature. After thinking for a while he said, all right, I will set up a spirit gathering array to lure him out. But this is the underworld. I can only hold it for 5 minutes at most. You two hide well. If he escapes, don't ask me for food expenses in the future. Yes, Father Niu. No problem, Father Niu. As soon as he finished speaking, the two of them retreated tens of meters away. I Ching took out 2 aura-concealing talismans, and stuck them on his chest. Master doesn't need them. He wanted to slap them to death even more. What should he do? Calm down, calm down. For the sake of invincible sex only sword cultivator disciple, he would endure. Lone Moon took a big step forward and walked some distance away. He conjured a seal with both hands and a spirit gathering array appeared under his feet. It emitted a faint white light, and the overflowing yin qi and death qi in the array were immediately cleared out. It was especially obvious in the pitch-black underworld. Lone Moon walked into the array and sat down cross-legged. He pretended to meditate and regulate his breathing. Immortal qi emanated from his body. In an instant, the wandering souls around him seemed to have encountered something scary. They all fled in different directions. He sat there for a full 10 minutes. Apart from the decreasing number of wandering souls around him, there was no other reaction. It was eerily quiet. Was it useless? Lone Moon frowned. Could it be that the other party had seen through their plan? Or had they been discovered when they entered the underworld? He hesitated whether to retract the immortal qi. After all, this was the underworld. Although the spirit gathering array could temporarily isolate the surrounding yin qi, it would not last for long. Just as he was about to retract it, he suddenly felt a cold yin qi that was different from the surrounding wandering souls flying towards him. It's here. His heart tightened. He immediately summoned a wall of qi to protect himself. There was a loud bang. A ray of black qi hit the wall of qi. Together with the array on the ground, it was instantly shattered. Lone Moon retreated more than 10 feet to avoid the attack. Who's there? Ha ha ha. A sinister laughter suddenly sounded. A human figure suddenly appeared in the black aura in the sky. It was a black-clothed woman. Her face was strangely pale, and 2 streams of bloody tears seemed to be flowing uncontrollably from her blood-red eyes as they flowed out. She looked at Lone Moon with a look of madness. Immortal soul, my immortal soul, it's mine. As she spoke, an even thicker yin qi exploded from her body. A huge array immediately appeared above their heads, flashing with a blood-red light. Blood soul array. Lone Moon was shocked. He turned and shouted, Shining! The next moment, a rain of swords appeared in the sky and attacked the ghost immortal in the sky. The swords pierced through the heavy yin qi and the figure in the sky. Several holes appeared on the woman's body. Even half of her head was missing, yet she did not seem to feel anything. She turned around and looked at Lone Moon with her blood-red eyes. Her body, which had been pierced through, was instantly restored to its original shape. Immortal soul, my immortal soul. With that said, she turned and pounced in Shen Ying's direction. The yin qi that was even stronger than before covered the sky and earth. Lone Moon was shocked. He hurriedly reminded, Shining, be careful. She doesn't have a physical body. You're grabbing. Bam. Before he could finish speaking, the ghost immortal was pressed to the ground by a certain someone. Shining turned to look at him. Father Neo, what did you say? No, nothing. Mother asterisk her. Immortal soul, immortal soul. The ghost immortal was pressed down by Shining until she could not move. Yet she still stared in the direction of Lone Moon and I Ching, unwilling to give up. Lone Moon hurried forward and asked anxiously, Where's the other person from the immortal realm that you captured earlier? Yet the ghost immortal did not seem to hear him at all. She only tried to squirm out of Shen Ying's hands and pounced toward Lone Moon. She was even crazier than before. This woman, what's wrong with her? Chapter 255. Lone Moon frowned. Suddenly recalling something, he turned to the person beside him and said, I Ching, check her soul. I Ching nodded. He bent down and channeled some god power into the woman's glabella. A moment later, his eyes widened in shock. She doesn't have a primary soul. Indeed. Lone Moon's expression darkened. The primary soul was the most important part of a soul. Without it, a person would not have any consciousness. They would only act on instinct. She was no different from a wandering soul. But why would she attack them? And her target was clearly the immortal soul. So you guys are here. It took me a long time to find you. Just as he was thinking about it, a familiar voice rang out. A figure dressed in black, similar to the woman's, landed in front of the 3 of them. Your ghost immortal Zhu Ming. Lone Moon recognized him as the man in Feng San's water mirror. You know me. The newcomer nodded in surprise. He was crying tears of blood just like the woman on the ground, but his expression was not as crazy as hers. Instead, he cupped his fists and bowed. I am Zhu Ming. Greetings, fellow Taoists. My old friend Feng San said that you guys entered the underworld to look for someone. He asked me to help you. So it was that couple who called him. Lone Moon heaved a sigh of relief. Thank you, fellow Taoist. You're too polite. My old friend Feng San's friend, I'm naturally. Mother Feng. Halfway through his sentence, His eyes widened as he looked at the female ghost immortal. Fellow Taoist Zhu, you know her? Lone Moon asked. Mother Feng, it's really you. Zhu Ming stepped forward anxiously. He looked at the crazed woman, and looked up at them. What is going on? We wanted to lure out the ghost immortal who kidnapped our friend. Lone Moon explained what had happened. But it was her. How could this be? He looked shocked. Although Mother Feng has lost her consciousness, she has always. He stopped mid-sentence, and scanned Lone Moon from head to toe. Could it be that you still have an immortal body? Lone Moon exchanged a look with the other two and nodded. I do have an immortal body. I see. Realization dawned on Zhu Ming's face. He seemed to have figured something out. No wonder. No wonder I met that friend of yours near the cave abode. So it's Mother Feng. Fellow Taoist Chu, what do you mean? Lone Moon asked. Zhu Ming's expression darkened. A moment later, he sighed deeply and bowed to them. Mother Feng is my junior sister. She is not in her right mind, and has offended us in the past. Please forgive her. As he spoke, he stepped forward, knelt down, and patted the woman's head. The next moment, the person who had been struggling madly a moment ago suddenly quietened down. She stood there motionless, as if she had become a fool. She ascended to become an immortal when she was alive, and after she died, she became a ghost immortal, so she's very sensitive to immortal souls. She attacked you because she sensed a similar immortal soul, and thought it was her own primary soul. So she instinctively wanted to take it back. Lone Moon glanced at the person on the ground. No wonder she quietened down the moment he sealed her divine perception and 5 senses. You mean to say that the person who took our friend was not her? This? I'm not sure either. Zhu Ming's expression darkened. He looked closely at the remnant Yin Qi on the ground. With a twist of his hand, a sliver of Yin Qi appeared in his palm. The last time I saw your friend, the remnant Yin Qi of the Blood Soul Array was indeed the same as Mother Feng's. Although I don't know why the Blood Soul Array did not work, Mother Feng did not have a primary soul. However, Mother Feng doesn't have a primary soul, and has lost her mind. If your friend is really in her hands now, she would probably use the Blood Soul Array immediately instead of bringing him back to the Netherworld first. She wouldn't have fallen into a trap and come here. Lone Moon fell silent. Indeed, if this ghost immortal called Mother Feng was really a lunatic with no consciousness, how could she have thought of returning to the divine underworld before using the Blood Soul Array after capturing Shorty? But if it wasn't her, then who had captured Shorty? But the place where Xian Tong went missing did indeed have remnant Yin Qi of a ghost immortal. Zhu Ming thought about it. In that case, why don't I bring you to Mother Feng's residence to look for her? Perhaps there will be other clues. What's more, the Blood Soul Array needs 2 days to completely extract her soul. If she really did capture her, she should still be in her cave abode now. He looked at the woman beside him, who was already playing with her hair. Mother Feng is my junior sister after all. I can't just leave her like this. The few of them exchanged glances. There was no other way. Thank you, fellow Taoist Zhu. Thus, the Taoist once again flew on his sword in the direction Zhu Ming had pointed out. Zhu Ming carefully helped Mother Feng up from the ground. Teng Yin led the way from behind. You two are quite close. Zhu Ming had just helped Mother Feng up when he heard a woman's voice. He looked up and saw the son that Feng San had repeatedly asked him to take care of. He was only waist-high, but he had a serious expression on his face the entire time. Behind him sat a woman in a white robe with blue trim. She sat cross-legged on the sword, one hand supporting her chin. She looked at him curiously. Zhu Ming was shocked. Huh, was this woman here just now? Seeing that the 2 people in front of him did not look surprised, he smiled out of habit and replied, when Mother Feng was alive, we grew up together. We were also from the same sect. Naturally, our relationship is different. Shening nodded. Why did she become like this? Well, I don't know either. Zhu Ming frowned. He seemed to recall something. His eyes went blank for a moment. Most people who become ghost immortals die with great grievances. Their obsessions are not resolved. They suffer unbearable pain. They have to use their own souls to become ghost immortals. She was already like this when I became a ghost immortal. Perhaps she has a greater obsession than we do. Oh, then she Shining wanted to ask more questions. Suddenly, she stood up and reached out to grab the person in front of her. Father knew. Lone Moon was flying well. When he was grabbed, he almost fell off the sword. Why are you suddenly grabbing me? He steadied himself. Shining pointed in front of them. There's a river in front. Didn't you see it? They almost crashed into it. What river? Lone Moon looked around blankly. Apart from a stretch of darkness, there was nothing else. Huh. Shining stared blankly at him. I Ching was the first to react. He summoned a sword filled with god power and flew it forward. Before it could fly more than 3 feet, the sword seemed to have been thrown into something highly corrosive. It melted and disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. In less than 2 seconds it was gone. Holy shit. Lone Moon took a step back. It could even swallow god power. If Shining had not reminded him, he would have crashed into it. Chapter 256. It's the Yin River of the Underworld. Zhu Ming exclaimed. The Yin River of the Underworld was formless and omnipresent. It was useless against ghosts and ghost immortals in the underworld. But it could swallow other people's souls. Everyone be careful. The Yin River is constantly changing. Sorcery cannot detect it. Zhu Ming turned to look at the woman standing lazily behind I Ching's sword. This fellow Taoist can actually see the Yin River? Her eyes are different from ours. Lone Moon gave Zhu Ming an unreadable look. One had to get used to the cheat's eyes. Let's hurry. It's so dark here. Who knows what else is there? It's not far. It's just up ahead. Zhu Ming pointed ahead. The few of them turned and flew in that direction. Shining paused. She looked around. Was it very dark here? It was clearly a piece of gold, and it was a little dazzling to the eyes. Of course, that was except for the pitch-black river floating in the sky. The few of them did not fly for long before they saw a palace floating in midair. The surroundings were filled with thick yin qi. Compared to the majestic palaces in the Dragon Abyss and Wuxia Mountain, this cave abode was much smaller. It was all alone. Perhaps it was because the yin qi was too thick, but there were not many wandering souls around. It was so quiet that only the footsteps of the few of them could be heard. This is it. The few of them landed in front of the palace. Zhu Ming seemed to be very familiar with this place. He waved his hand, and the doors to the palace opened. He helped Mother Feng, who was still in a daze, to a chair in the hall. The palace was empty. They could see all the way to the end. Apart from the 4 chairs, there was nothing else. There's a small courtyard behind. The 2 of you can go in and take a look, Zhu Ming reminded them. I Ching, go and take a look. I'll set up an array to look for Shorty's aura, Lone Moon instructed. I Ching nodded and walked to the back of the palace. Lone Moon walked to the center of the palace and released his divine perception. Instantly, the entire cave abode appeared in his divine perception. He activated his immortal qi and began to set up an array. Perhaps to avoid arousing suspicion, Zhu Ming did not help them look for Shorty. He only sat beside Mother Feng. Shening, who was the only one who had nothing to do, also sat on a chair at the side and waited. Perhaps she was a little bored waiting, so she habitually took out a fruit to eat. Just as he took one out, he used a little too much force, and the other one beside him fell out as well, rolling around. Just as she was about to bend down to pick it up, a pair of pale, bloodless hands picked it up first. Mother Feng, who had been sitting on the chair, stared blankly at the fruit in her hands, then looked up at Shining. Suddenly, he stretched out his hand and gave her a sinister smile. Heh. Shining tilted her head and took it. Thank you. However, the other party was still looking in the direction of her hand, a pair of bloody eyes staring straight at the fruit on top. Only the dripping sound of blood could be heard. It was very horrifying. Shining, who had bitten the core. After some thought, he took out the greenest fruit from his storage bag and handed it over. Do you want to eat it? Mother Feng was stunned. She looked at the fruit, then back at her. Suddenly, she reached out and snatched the fruit. His lips curved into a sinister smile again, and he stuffed the fruit into his mouth. The next moment there was a loud thud. The fruit went straight through his mouth and fell to the ground. The person who had no physical body looked confused. Hey, it fell. Shining picked up the fruit and handed it over. Here, I have more. She took it again and swallowed it down in one gulp. Once again, it fell to the ground with a thud. Ha ha ha. You can't eat it. As if addicted, Shining picked up the fruit on the ground again and handed it over. The ghost immortal still looked like he had just snatched a treasure. Once again, he took the fruit and dropped it to the ground again. This happened repeatedly. Zhu Ming, who was watching the whole time. She did it on purpose, right? She definitely did it, right? There was someone else around. Master. I Ching finally returned from the backyard and shook his head at her. No. The backyard was even cleaner than the front. There were not even any chairs. Apart from Yin Qi, there was nothing else. Zhu Ming's expression darkened as well. If they could not find Mother Feng, they would be suspects. He thought for a moment and suggested, "Why don't I follow you to the forest where the woman went missing? I'm familiar with Ghost Immortal's auras. Perhaps I can find some clues?" Lone Moon, who was setting up the array, stopped as well. His expression was equally dark. Shorty is indeed not here. Oh! Shining narrowed her eyes, but she ignored them. Just as she was about to pass the fruit to Mother Feng, she retracted it. Mother Feng caught nothing but air. Suddenly, she leaned forward and smiled. I'm not giving it to you anymore. I gave you so many. Why don't you return one to me? Lone Moon. I Ching. Zhu Ming. Where's your shame? Didn't you just give me the same fruit? Are you bullying ghost immortals for not having physical bodies? Oh Mother Feng paused. She clearly did not understand what Shining was saying. Her bloodshot eyes stared at the fruit in Xunying's hand, but she did not dare to snatch it away. The corner of Loman's mouth twitched. Hey, you're almost. He was about to reprimand her, but Mother Feng took out a square token from somewhere and threw it at Shining. Then, she stared at the fruit in Xunying's hand. Master! I Ching exclaimed. Lone Moon regained his composure as well. He looked at the token in Xunying's hand. What's this? A token? Zhu Ming looked confused as well. Why would Mother Feng have something like this? And why did the token seem to be imbued with god power? It should be the eye of the array, Shining replied. Finally, she passed the fruit to the overjoyed Mother Feng. Then with a loud thud, it fell to the ground. This time, Shining did not help her pick it up. Instead, she picked up the token and walked to the center of the hall. Then, she squatted down and pressed it on the ground. In an instant, the entire cave abode lit up with a bright red light. An array appeared in the hall. The ground began to collapse inch by inch. The red light in the middle of the hall was especially blinding. A moment later, the space around them began to twist and distort. Then a scene appeared beneath them, but they could not see clearly. This is the entrance to the mystic realm, Zhu Ming exclaimed. Lone Moon asked in surprise. How did you know that there's an array here to open the mystic realm? I could tell. Shining replied casually. Everywhere was golden, except for the circle on the ground which was black. There was also a square mark. Anyone could tell that there was a problem, right? Lone Moon. The red entrance was getting bigger and bigger. It was about to cover the entire hall. Lone Moon nodded at the other two. Then he gave them a look. Go in. Everyone mounted their swords and flew in. Zhu Ming also pulled Mother Feng, who was still looking for the fruit on the ground. The red light flashed in front of them. The next moment, they were in another world. Chapter 257. This was a very small mystic realm. Rather than a mystic realm, it was more like a secret room. There was only a wide platform around them. There was a strange array carved on the platform. Even I Ching, who had inherited the Dragon Clan's heritage, had never seen it before. The few of them landed on the platform. Suddenly, the ground lit up with a red light. Countless arrays of different sizes lit up on the quiet platform. Lone Moon felt his heart skip a beat. His primordial spirit was unstable. It was as if something was about to break out of his body. Father Niu. Shining picked him up from the ground. I Ching also felt something was wrong. He did not land on the ground. Instead, he flew into the air. How are you? Lone Moon panted heavily. He used his immortal chi to regulate his breathing. He suppressed the feeling that his primordial spirit was about to be pulled out. The array below can absorb souls. Even immortal souls were no exception. Everyone was shocked. They hurriedly retreated further away. The array on the platform was fully activated. The entire platform turned red. Suddenly, a series of shrill cries rang out. Many ghostly figures appeared in the array. They seemed to be in extreme pain. They wailed and wailed as they tried to hit the red light that trapped them. Every time they hit the red light, their souls would fade a little. But they did not seem to feel anything. They continued to try to rush out of the array. What are these? Everyone present was stunned. The ones in the formation were called wandering souls, but it was obvious that these souls were weaker than wandering souls. Even their shadows were very faint. Immortal soul, my immortal soul! Mother Feng, who was still in a daze, suddenly shouted. She seemed to be agitated. She went crazy again. She turned and tried to fly towards the array. Mother Feng, Zhu Ming was shocked. He immediately used his yin qi to block her. But she became even crazier. She even started to attack Zhu Ming. Immortal soul, give it back to me. Give it back to me. What's going on? Lone Moon looked at the array below, and the crazed Mother Feng. They had already sealed her divine perception and 5 senses. Why was she still like this? Could it be that she had something to do with the array below? Don't you guys feel that? Shening suddenly spoke. She pointed at the ghostly figures in the array below. The shadows down there are all the same. What's the same? Lone Moon lowered his head to look at the array formation below him. Subconsciously, he took a closer look at the ghostly figures. His eyes widened. Holy shit. They really looked the same. Whether it was the figure or the face, there were actually 2 or 3 people who looked exactly the same. How could this be? I Ching looked confused as well. Although people are similar, no matter what, they can't be completely the same, unless... He stopped mid-sentence and sucked in a breath. The 2 of them looked at each other and exclaimed in unison, Soul-splitting array! This was a formation that could directly separate a person's 3 spiritual and 7 physical souls. Those people who looked exactly the same were originally separated from the same soul. Mas! Just as I Ching was about to speak, Shening had already jumped down and stepped hard on the edge of the platform. With a loud bang, a corner of the platform collapsed. The soul-splitting array immediately dimmed. The hundreds of ghostly figures trapped inside floated out. The 3 spiritual and 7 physical souls began to gather together. The number of ghostly figures decreased by more than half. The shrill cries from before also stopped. Perhaps because their souls were too heavily injured, a few of the ghostly figures were still unconscious. They swayed as they floated towards the exit of the mystic realm. The few people in the air followed them down. These ghostly figures lost some of their souls. Let's hope that the power of reincarnation can restore their souls. Zhu Ming looked at the ghostly figures in the air and sighed. But I'm afraid they're going to be idiots for a few lifetimes. Shorty is not among those ghostly figures. I Ching checked all the souls that floated out and heaved a sigh of relief. It looks like the person who captured Shorty was planning to bring her here, to extract her primary soul after forcing her soul out. Lone Moon frowned. He looked at Zhu Ming, who still had a crazed look on her face. Lone Moon frowned and glanced at the crazed Mother Feng, who was trapped by Zhu Ming. This array looked like it had been set up for a long time. It looked like Mother Feng's primary soul had been extracted by this array as well. That was why she suddenly went crazy. But why was this array that hid the small mystic realm in her cave abode? And why did she have the token to open the entrance? When they entered the mystic realm earlier, apart from the divine I Ching, Zhu Ming's and Lone Moon's primordial spirits were almost pulled into the array. That proved that ghost immortals could not control this array. This array was definitely not set up by Mother Feng. What's that? Shening pointed to the center of the array. The few of them paused. Then they saw a transparent ball in the middle of the array. There seemed to be something trapped inside. This looks like a fragment of a remnant soul. Zhu Ming took a closer look and formed a hand seal. Immediately, the remnant soul floated out of the ball and formed a small figure. The figure hugged its knees and curled up into a ball. It looked like a child less than 2 years old, and there was something familiar about its facial features. Shorty, Shining suddenly said. Lone Moon and I Ching's hearts tightened. This is Shorty's remnant soul? Are you sure? Shining nodded. It was the same as what she had seen when she was sleepwalking. That's not right. Lone Moon frowned. Even if Shorty's soul was split, she should look like an adult. This remnant soul obviously looks like a child. Unless. He paused and exchanged a look with I Ching. Both of them had the same thought. This remnant soul was separated from her before she was reincarnated. I Ching's expression darkened. He seemed to recall something and hurriedly looked around. After a while, he pointed to an array beside him and said, Master, look, there's a realm guiding array here. Shorty must have been pulled from the invincible heavenly palace to the divine underworld by this remnant soul. But the realm gate opened by the realm guiding array was not stable. It was possible that Shorty had not been transported directly into this array. We have to find her quickly. Lone Moon's expression darkened. He was getting more and more anxious. From the looks of it, the person who had captured Shorty was not just looking for a random immortal soul. He was plotting to get his hands on Shorty's soul. Everyone, Zhu Ming suggested. Since this remnant soul belongs to the person you are looking for, and the souls are connected to each other, why don't we use the connection between the remnant soul and the main body and use the water element technique to find out her current location? The few of them paused. That's right. They had almost forgotten about this technique. Although the remnant soul could not compare to one of the 3 souls and 7 spirits, and it would slowly dissipate over time, it was still one with the main body. Whatever the main body saw, the remnant soul could also sense. If they used the water element technique, they would be able to see Shorty's current location. Chapter 258. Lone Moon hurriedly conjured a seal and guided the remnant soul. A moment later, 2 shadows appeared above the remnant soul. One was where the remnant soul was. That was where they were now. The other was a place filled with immortal chi. Huge, transparent, crystal-like mountains floated all around them. There were even shadows of palaces on them. This is the 1,000-feet mountain, Zhu Ming exclaimed. Where is the 1,000-feet mountain? Lone Moon asked anxiously. That's Supreme Divinity Qian Yu's residence. It's at the easternmost part of the divine world. Zhu Ming frowned. Supreme Divinity Qian Yu may be cold, but he has a good reputation in the divine world. He's a very righteous person. I don't think he would set up such a vicious array. Why would the person you're looking for be there? We'll only know when we get there. Thank you, fellow Taoist Jew. Lone Moon nodded at him and turned to the other 2. Let's go. Let's go find her. I Ching did not hesitate. He summoned his flying sword. Shining grabbed the ball containing Shorty's remnant soul and jumped onto Chef's sword. They flew out of the mystic realm. When the 3 of them reached the 1,000-feet mountain, they finally understood why it was called the 1,000-feet mountain. They saw huge crystal-like mountains floating in the air. They shone with a silver-white light. Moreover, these crystal mountains were moving. They looked like a huge array formation. The mountains were also translucent. It was easy to get lost inside. Lone Moon subconsciously glanced at Shining. He turned and instructed I Ching sternly, "Look after her. We're only looking for Shorty this time. We can't get separated again." According to Zhu Ming, Supreme Divinity Qian Yu's cultivation level is very high. We can't tell if he's a friend or foe. Shorty is in his hands. Before we find her, don't act rashly. He added, "You still have aura-concealing talismans, right?" Yes. I Ching retrieved a few aura-concealing talismans. "Give me 2. Lone Moon took them and gestured for I Ching to put 2 on as well. "Try not to alert anyone. Do you understand?" Yes. The 2 of them nodded. "Let's go." "Wait, Father Neo. What now? Are you sure?" Shining scanned him from head to toe, at the bright red wedding robe he was wearing. "Are you sure you want to go in like this?" F***CK. It was all because of these 2 that he had forgotten to change back. Lone Moon conjured a seal, and was just about to remove the shape-shifting spell on his body, and turn back into a man. He turned to look at a certain foodie, and with a flick of his wrist, he cast another transfiguration technique. In an instant, the figure changed into a familiar yet strange face, Shen Ying's face. The two of them. What are you looking at? Lone Moon glared at the two of them. Becoming like this is better than any aura-concealing talisman. I Ching. What she said made sense, and he couldn't refute her. Shunning. Motherf asterisk her. Let's go. Lone Moon rode on his sword and flew forward, bypassing the crystal floating peaks one by one. He released his divine perception to the fullest, paying attention to everything around him. The strange thing was that along the way, they did not see any other Protoss. Not only that, these crystal floating peaks did not seem to have any array fluctuations. Apart from floating here and there, they did not seem to have any other effect. Gradually, on top of the crystal floating peaks, some palaces appeared. Lone Moon took out the transmission talisman that he had given to Shorty previously, and sent a bit of immortal chi into it. But there was still no response. The crystal floating peaks seemed to have the ability to block signals, and he could not contact Shorty at all. Shit. He cursed under his breath. There are too many crystal peaks here. The transmission talisman is completely useless. Why don't we split a few? I Ching subconsciously pulled out his sword. You're crazy. Lone Moon rolled his eyes. Do we still want to save Shorty? Can you two violent maniacs stop coming up with such lousy ideas? What if the other party gets angry and kills her? Invincible sect only has one sword cultivator disciple left. Then what do? We can only search slowly. Lone Moon looked at the terrain and waved at the two of them. I just looked at the movement pattern of these crystal peaks. They should all be floating in the west direction. There are no array formations in the middle to control them. And the deeper we go, the more palaces there are. He pointed to the front and said, so I guess that these crystal peaks should be circular around something, a natural maze. Shorty should be in the innermost position. Although flying in a straight line is the fastest way to get there, there must be some kind of connection between these crystal peaks. However, there must be some kind of connection between these crystal peaks. There shouldn't be anything that can directly lead to the center. Master, be careful. Before he finished speaking, I Ching suddenly pulled Shining and retreated to the left. Rumble instantly, there was a loud sound, and a huge aura swept over, brushing past Lone Moon's right side. The crystal peaks in front of them seemed to explode side by side, breaking into pieces and falling from the sky. A wide path suddenly appeared on the right side, and they could faintly see the palaces inside. There's a direct path. Shining pointed to the front. Lone Moon. Son of AB asterisk TH. Bring him along and dodge. Will you die? Fu asterisk K. In the next moment, two shocking suppressive forces came from the front. Even I Ching frowned uncomfortably. The surrounding crystal peaks kept breaking. Lone Moon set up a defensive array around himself. There are people fighting in front. Judging from this suppressive force, their cultivation level must be. Before he finished speaking, his eyes widened. I feel Shorty's aura, it's over there. I Ching paused. He sensed carefully and found a familiar immortal chi. The two of them exchanged a look and immediately flew in that direction. The deeper they flew, the more broken crystal peaks they saw. There were even pieces of palaces floating around. In the distance, there seemed to be two figures fighting, one in green and one in white. They could not see clearly, but the aura around them was shocking. Compared to the battle between Long Zhen and Feng San, it seemed even more intense. Even though it was just a wave of suppressive force, Lone Moon felt the immortal chi in his body stagnate. He looked up at the two people in the sky. Huh, Chef, don't you think that white figure looks familiar? I Ching looked up and nodded. Yes, a little. But he could not remember. In the next moment, an impatient voice came from the other side. I told you, I don't know the person you're looking for. No matter how many times you ask, it's the same. I don't know her. The person on the other side did not respond. The voice spoke again, this time in a serious tone. I've already saved the person you asked me to save. It's been so many years, why do you have to keep pestering me? A moment later, a cold voice spoke. She also said, You, where is she? Don't go too far. The two of them started fighting again. Why did it feel like that voice sounded familiar? Chapter 259. Before Shen Ying and the others could think about it, an even stronger suppressive force swept over them. There was another rumbling sound, and the surrounding crystal peaks were destroyed. I Ching hurriedly released his dragon might to protect the two people beside him. Shen Ying was stunned. She pointed to the right and said, "Hey, isn't that Shorty?" The two of them paused and looked in the direction she was pointing. Indeed, there was a person flying in the upper right. She was dressed in a pink robe and had a defensive array around her. She was looking at the two people fighting in front of her anxiously. The two of them were overjoyed. They were about to go forward when Shen Ying raised her hand and shouted, "Hey, Shorty!" In an instant, these 4 words spread throughout the entire Thousand Mountains range. Even the two people fighting in the sky were stunned. I Ching. Lone Moon. He had the urge to deduct all the food expenses. What happened to coming secretly? Did she know what Loki was? Xian Tong's body stiffened. She turned around in disbelief. Her face was filled with joy. She immediately flew over on her sword. Sect Master. Just as she was about to pounce on them, there was a flash of white light. The white figure that was originally fighting suddenly descended toward them at a speed faster than Shorty. I Ching and Lone Moon finally saw the figure clearly. They were both stunned. Bai Zai. 2 inches the next moment, the figure appeared in front of the 3 of them. She looked over with excitement and disbelief. Then she hugged Father Niu beside her. Shen Ying. I Ching. Father Niu, who was stiffened in the hug. For all. Huh? In the next moment, Bai Zai's cold and excited voice rang in their ears. Shen. For a long time, she could not say the next word. Her ears turned red. Sect Master. Shorty finally flew down and buried her head in Shen Ying's arms. Her expression of ecstasy, just a moment ago, suddenly changed. She cried so loudly that it shook the heavens. Sect Master, you're finally here. I knew that you would definitely come to save me, Wa. I Ching. Little bitch. Yes, I'm here. Shen Ying patted her on the back. Don't cry. Her clothes were brand new. Bai Zai, who was carrying Lone Moon, paused. He looked at Shen Ying in his arms, and then at the person beside him who looked exactly the same. There were 2 Shen Ying. Shen, your sister. Lone Moon, who finally reacted, exploded. Look carefully before you hug her. Bai Zai finally understood and pushed Lone Moon away without hesitation. In a flash, he appeared in front of Shen Ying as if nothing had happened. Shen Ying. He finally managed to say her name. I really miss you. Shen Ying finally managed to pull the slug out from in front of her. The next moment, she saw his starry eyes. Stunned, she asked, "Who are you?" Bai Zai. I Ching. Lone Moon. He could faintly hear the sound of a knife piercing his heart. The starlight was extinguished. Bai Zai, is this the person you're looking for? A questioning voice suddenly rang out in the sky, and the person who had been fighting with Bai Zai also flew down. Only then did everyone see who it was. He was dressed in a green robe with black hair draped over his shoulders. His face was like jade, and his entire body exuded a refreshing aura that was exceptionally familiar. Apart from his pair of black eyes, which lacked a bit of liveliness, he was simply Father Niu. To I Ching and Shen Ying exclaimed at the same time. Lone Moon. What the hell was this? Thousand Legs Hall. Lone Moon, who had already returned to his original appearance, looked at the person sitting in the main seat and felt awkward all over. They really looked exactly the same. If not for the fact that they were wearing different clothes, he would have had the illusion that he was looking at himself in the mirror. Father Niu, you have a brother too? Shen Ying could not help but ask. Get lost. Lone Moon rolled his eyes. Who had a brother? I didn't think that there would really be someone who looks exactly like me in this world. Qian Yu looked at Lone Moon with some surprise. His brows were knitted together as if he was used to it. He looked dignified. Supreme Divinity Qian Yu really isn't Elder Lone Moon. Xian Tong was also a little confused. She looked back and forth between the two people who looked exactly the same. Not only did they look similar, even their auras were similar. It was just that one was filled with immortal qi, and the other was filled with God power. So it's all because I got the wrong person. Qian Yu snorted coldly. Still with some anger, he said, "Bai Zai, what else do you have to say now?" The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Ever since he first met Bai Zai many years ago, Bai Zai had been forcing him to ask about Sect Master Shen's whereabouts. No matter what he said, Bai Zai did not believe him. What's more, he had been guarding the 1,000-Feet Mountain for many years. He had been forced into a corner, and even fought over a disagreement. The entire 1,000-Feet Mountain had been destroyed countless times. Now it seemed that he had suffered an undeserved calamity. "I told you long ago that I don't know the person you're looking for. All these years, you kept asking me about her whereabouts. Do you believe me now? All these years you've been at my 1,000. Bai Zai. Qian Yu called out twice, but realized that Bai Zai was not even listening to him. A pair of slightly cold eyes were currently staring at the woman beside him. His clear eyes were filled with the image of the woman beside him. From time to time, he would pass something over to her in a fawning manner. "Fruit, oh, tea, pastries. Thank you." Bai Zai's eyes lit up even more. His ears started to turn red again. Patches of red began to spread, and even his hair started to be dyed red. A moment later he replied in a low voice, "You're welcome." At that moment, everyone could faintly see pink bubbles appearing around them. Xian Tong, Qian Yu, Lone Moon. I Ching's face darkened as his position was stolen. He resisted the urge to draw his sword. Yu Zhong felt that his kickback then was too light. He stepped forward angrily and said, "Supreme Divinity, you don't have to worry about Master's matters." "You are." Bai Zai hesitated for a moment. He took a closer look at the other party's aura, and immediately recognized who it was. His expression turned cold. Why was this annoying person still here? He frowned but did not let go of the plate in his hand. Still looking, the corner of I Ching's mouth twitched. He took a step to the side, wanting to block the two of them. Unfortunately, because of his height, his small body could not block the two of them. So, he climbed onto the table. With the advantage of being a head taller than the other party, he stared coldly at the other party. "What are you looking at, little bitch?" At that moment, the two of them were in such a strange position, staring at each other with big and small eyes. Lone Moon. King retard. He really wanted to pretend that he did not know these two people. Lone Moon frowned and nudged Xian Tong beside him. He lowered his voice and said, "Little shorty, what exactly is going on? Didn't I ask you to wait for me in the forest? How did you get here?" "Elder, I was indeed waiting for you there. But the ghost immortal suddenly chased after me. I could not defeat him. Fortunately, Supreme Divinity Bai Zai happened to pass by. I told him that I was a disciple of Invincible Sect. He saved me and brought me here." Chapter 260. Lone Moon thought about it carefully. When they were in the forest previously, they only cared about the remaining Yin Qi, and neglected the remaining god power around them. After all, that place was close to Wuxia Mountain. It was normal for there to be god power. "After I woke up, I mistook Supreme Divinity Qian Yu for you. That's why I asked for the sect master's whereabouts." Xian Tong continued. "Supreme Divinity Bai Zai and Supreme Divinity Qian Yu got into a fight. Then, you guys came. So that's what happened. So it was Bai Zai who saved her?" He turned to look at the person sitting at the head of the table. Qian Yu's face was as black as ink. He looked like he was trying his best not to attack. Bai Zai had obviously mistaken Qian Yu for him, and wanted to find out where Shining was. From his expression, Bai Zai had been harassing him all these years. The corner of Loman's mouth twitched. He said in a low voice, "Since Shorty has been found, we won't disturb you anymore." He stood up. This was too embarrassing. They had better leave. Leave. The anger on Qian Yu's face grew. He snorted and said, "My 1,000-Feet Mountain is not a place where you can come and go as you please. You've destroyed so many of my crystal peaks. Are you going to go back on your words?" Loman's heart sank. He knew it would not be so easy to leave. Supreme Divinity Qian Yu is too serious. We are not that kind of people. My Invincible Sect is a righteous sect. We have always been fair and impartial in our dealings. We are not biased, Lone Moon said seriously. So, every injustice has its perpetrator. And every debt has its debtor. Look for the culprit. Without hesitation, he threw the blame to Lone Moon. As long as the few of them could leave, it was fine. The others understood immediately. Therefore, all eyes in the room turned to look at a certain white figure. It's him, it's him, it's him. Our scapegoat. Bai Zai. His expression stiffened. He finally turned to look at Qianyu. Perhaps because he was really in the wrong, he stepped forward and said, "This is indeed my fault. I will compensate you." With that said, he turned and walked out the door. Everyone looked at each other and followed him out. He stood on the platform in front of the palace and chanted a long string of strange incantations. Not long after, a huge array appeared under his feet. He waved his hand, and the formation began to rise slowly, growing larger and larger. In a short while, it had already enveloped half of the sky, and a bright white light shone. In the next moment, the ground shook, and a large number of crystal fragments rose into the air. As if they were being pulled by something, they began to gather and reform, forming many tall crystal peaks. As if time had been reversed, the crystal peaks that filled the sky once again appeared in the surroundings. There were no signs of damage at all. Everyone present was stunned. It was not that there were no sorcery spells that could repair damaged objects. And apart from Shining, who did not know any sorcery, even Shorty would not find it difficult to repair a palace. But this was the first time they had seen an array that could repair hundreds of floating peaks in an instant. As expected of the primordial divine beast clan, Qianyu sighed as her eyes darkened. Bai Zai had already turned around and walked straight towards Qianyu. With a turn of his hand, a blue pearl suddenly appeared in his hand. He handed it over and said, "This is the soul-suppressing pearl that you wanted. In this way, can we write off what happened before?" Qianyu took the soul-suppressing pearl, and something flashed across his eyes. After a while he nodded and said, "In that case, I will not pursue the matter." He turned to look at the floating peaks in the sky, and suddenly thought of something. But the crystal peaks have been repaired, and more than 10 of the 81 palaces of the Thousand Mountains mountain have been destroyed. They should also be repaired as before. Bai Zai nodded. All right. With that said, he turned and flew towards the various floating peaks, and began to repair the palaces. The palaces of the Thousand Mountains mountain were different from other places. Although most of them were not big, they were all on the crystal peaks. Some of the cave abodes were even more hidden and difficult to detect. That was why Bai Zai's array previously did not repair the palaces above. But after all, they were only palaces. Compared to the crystal peaks, they were much simpler. More than 10 palaces could be repaired in at most 4 to 6 hours. But why did they have to repair it too? Lone Moon glared angrily at a certain person who was still circling around Fudishen. That kick he gave back then was really too light. Wait. Shening, what are you doing? Put down that roof beam. Help. Help my ass, the roof beam has been broken. Eat your fruits properly, can't you go and slack off? Oh. And Bai Zai, stop snatching chef's plate. You destroyed this place, can you have some self-awareness? Didn't you hear that Qianyu said that no one could leave before the repairs were completed? King retard. Do you still want to leave here or not? Father Neil felt so tired. Apart from little Shorty, everyone else was a burden to him. Little Shorty come over for a while. Finally, there was only one palace left. Lone Moon heaved a sigh of relief and waved at Xian Tong. Xian Tong flew over directly. Elder, what instructions do you have? I saw that when you made the seals just now, you were much slower than usual. Are you injured? Xian Tong's expression darkened. She lowered her head and said, Yes, I'm slightly injured. Give me your hand. Lone Moon first checked her meridians, then activated a bit of immortal qi. He put a finger between her brows and looked at her primordial spirit. He was shocked to find that although her body was not injured at all, for some reason, her primordial spirit was extremely unstable, as if it could come out at any time. This is called a slight injury? Lone Moon's expression darkened. How could this be? When they separated, she was clearly fine. Was it that ghost immortal who injured you? Xian Tong nodded honestly. Didn't I tell you to take care of yourself and run if you can't win? Primordial spirit injuries were not like physical injuries. It was very difficult to heal. It looked like nothing, but if one was not careful, one's soul would be destroyed. The others also looked at little Shorty worriedly. Xian Tong lowered her head even more and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Elder Lone Moon. My cultivation level is too low, that's why." "What are you apologizing for? This is not your fault." Lone Moon was a little irritated. She must have undergone the soul transfer spell before entering the blood soul array. I Ching also checked her injuries and said in a low voice, "This body is not hers in the first place. Now that she has been injured by the ghost immortals Yin Qi, that's why her primordial spirit is unstable." Lone Moon fell silent. He looked at Xian Tong beside him. Why did this unlucky child always get herself into trouble? "Do you have a way?" Shining turned to look at the person beside her. Bai Zhe, who was suddenly called out, paused. His eyes lit up. Yes. He nodded hard, faster than ever before. His gaze was fixed on Shen Ying's face for a while. Then he subconsciously turned his head away. His face was burning red. After a while he said, "But you have to follow me back to Bai Yin Mountain." Chapter 261. Do you really have a way to cure little Shorty? Lone Moon asked anxiously. Bai Zhe looked at Lone Moon. His blush faded a little, and he spoke more fluently. "There's a spirit spring on White Cloud Mountain that can nourish the soul." Lone Moon was overjoyed. "All right, let's go now." The few of them finished repairing the palace and flew back to the main hall. Lone Moon said to Qianyu, who was supervising them, "Supreme Divinity Qianyu, the palace has been repaired. Sorry for the disturbance. We are in a hurry to treat our disciples' injuries and will not stay any longer." Qianyu did not continue to make things difficult for them. He nodded and said, "Since the Thousand Mountains mountain has been repaired, I will not force you to stay." He turned to look in Xian Tong's direction. As if guessing what they were thinking, he added, "This Miss Xian Tong's primordial spirit is unstable. Even with the spirit spring, she needs immortal qi to protect her from time to time in order to recover." "Thank you, Supreme Divinity Qianyu, for telling us." The few of them did not stay any longer. They all flew out on their flying swords. Qianyu conjured a seal, and the surrounding crystal peaks opened up a path to the outside world. "Aren't you coming?" Shenning suddenly turned and asked. Qianyu paused. He looked around and realized that Shenning was asking about him. He thought about it carefully and remembered that this was the woman Bai Zhe had been waiting for all these years. He could not remember her name and replied, "It's not convenient for me to leave the Thousand Mountains mountain. Forgive me for not seeing you off." Shenning tilted her head. "Why? Aren't you injured too?" Qianyu paled. Something flashed across his eyes. He immediately replied, "I was slightly injured when I fought with Bai Zhe just now. I'll be fine after resting for a while." "Oh." Shenning did not ask further. Within seconds, they disappeared into the horizon. "Little Shorty, how are your injuries?" The moment they left the 1,000-feet mountain, Lone Moon summoned the huge fan-shaped Dharma artifact and pulled everyone over. He asked with a serious expression, "I'm fine for now." Xian Tong shook her head. "My primordial spirit is only unstable. I'm not injured. As long as it's not an out-of-body spell, I'll be fine." Lone Moon nodded. "I didn't ask you before. Did you see the ghost immortal who attacked you clearly?" "This." Xian Tong frowned and said, "That person's entire body is filled with Yin Qi. My cultivation is too low, so I can't see his face clearly." "Is it a woman?" She thought about it carefully and shook her head. "No. Although I couldn't see his face clearly, his figure was definitely not that of a woman." Lone Moon and I Ching exchanged a look. Their expressions darkened. "It looks like Mother Feng did not attack her. The other party's target is obvious. It's Shorty's soul," I Ching said in a low voice. "Even if they manage to avoid it this time, they will only be more careful next time." "That's right. Right now we still don't know who they are or why they are targeting you." Lone Moon's expression became more and more serious. "Before that, you'd better not leave our side. To be more precise, you better not leave Shen Ying's side." "All right, disciple understands." Xian Tong's eyes lit up. She looked as if she had won some unexpected prize. I will definitely not leave Sect Master. I Ching. Lone Moon. He suddenly felt as if he had made a wrong decision. Could they really return to the immortal realm safely? Lone Moon nudged the person who was chewing on a fruit beside him. Shening, why are you? Before he could finish, Shen Ying's eyes suddenly lit up. She exclaimed loudly, I remember now. What? Everyone was shocked. What did she discover? Shening turned and pointed at the person beside her. So you're that fur ball. I Ching. Lone Moon. Xiantong. Bai Zai. You only freaking recognized me now. Bai Yin Mountain was Bai Zai's residence. Compared to the cold and hard crystal peaks of Thousand Feet Mountain, the sea of clouds of Lingtai Mountain, the greenery of Wuxia Mountain, and the volcanoes of the Dragon Abyss, Bai Yin Mountain lived up to its name. Hidden among the layers of white clouds, its white palaces were blindingly bright. The surroundings were filled with blue god power. It was not as cold and dignified as the other divine venerables. Along the way, there were all kinds of immortal beasts and demons. Among them, there were even divine beings. It was very lively. Lone Moon and the others finally had the time to understand the basic situation of the divine underworld. Unlike the immortal realm, the people of the divine realm were more relaxed. They did not have the concept of territory, nor did they have the complicated division of continents. Basically, the people of the divine realm could go wherever they wanted, as long as they did not barge into other people's homes. In the divine realm, apart from the various divine races, there were all kinds of legendary ferocious beasts, auspicious beasts, and wild demons. There were also those who were originally immortal cultivators, before the divine realm and immortal realm were separated. There were high and low cultivation levels among the gods. Among them, the 4 divine races were the strongest. They were the dragon, phoenix, Qilin, and black tortoise. But the Qilin and black tortoise had long been extinct since ancient times. The dragon and phoenix races had always been at odds with each other, and would often fight. All in all, the divine realm was a free-range place. It was no wonder that they fell out with the immortal realm. They were clearly stronger than the immortal realm. But in the end, the divine realm ascended to the underworld, and did not fight to the end with the immortal realm. And among all the divine races, there were only 5 people who could be called divine venerables. Perhaps it was a coincidence, but Shen Ying and the others had all interacted with them. There was no need to talk about Long Zhen and Feng San. They were Chef's parents. Apart from Bai Zai, there was also Supreme Divinity Hongyu. Bai Zai said that he was formed from a green lotus at the beginning of the world. He was the only plant that became a god. He was pure and had no conflicts with the world. That was why he was the only god that had lived since ancient times. Usually, his only hobby was to give lectures. More than 90% of the gods in the divine realm had attended his lectures. And that supreme divinity Qianyu, who looked exactly like Lone Moon, was the only human god that ascended from the immortal realm and became a supreme divinity. Speaking of which, Father Niu, you look different from how you look on television. Shening glanced at him suspiciously. As a well-known citizen's father who would bring money every time he asked for it, she still had some impression of him. What's with that look? Lone Moon rolled his eyes at her. Keep that expression of suspicion that I've gone through plastic surgery. She did not mention plastic surgery. The reason why I look different from before is because when I ascended to the nascent soul stage, I went through a body purification. Lone Moon waved the fan in his hand and said with some pride, I'm not your chef. I don't have a natural sword body. That's why I could only take advantage of the nascent soul heavenly tribulation, to use the lightning tribulation, to refine my body, and cleanse my meridians. Of course I look different. Oh, Shening thought about the girls of the Rainbow Sect. Indeed, after going through the lightning tribulation, they all looked different. They even learned to transform. The way I look now is the way I look at the beginning after I purify the impurities in my body. Lone Moon's expression was serious as he said word by word. My old man was born this handsome, all right? Where's your shame? Chapter 262. As for why that Qianyu looks exactly like me, I don't know either. Perhaps it was a coincidence. Lone Moon frowned, suddenly remembering something. Shining, don't you think? He was just about to speak when Bai Zhe suddenly appeared beside the two of them, looking at Shining eagerly. Shen, come here. What's the matter? Shining lay on the table, not wanting to move. Did something happen to Shorty? Lone Moon stood up anxiously. Shorty had been soaking in the spirit spring for 3 days, and there was still no movement. No, she's fine. She can come out tomorrow. Now that it was Lone Moon's turn, his speech became smoother. There's just a place that I want to bring Shen over to have a look. I'm not going. Shen rejected immediately. She was not interested in anything that required movement. Bai Zhe froze and looked at her anxiously, suddenly remembering something. He took out a bag and handed it over. Here. What? Shen took it. The moment she pulled it open, something slid out. It was a long, slippery and wet body. It fell on the table with a thud and kept twisting. What the hell? Could this be an octopus? Lone Moon poked the claw on the table with his fan. It's a 1,000-clawed beast, Bai Zhe replied and turned to look at Shen with a blushing face. Can I eat it? Nodding furiously, he thought for a moment and added, there are a lot of them. Father Niao. Shen Ying's eyes brightened. It was written all over her face. Think, think, think. Seafood, seafood, seafood. For all. If you want to go, you go. I'm not going. Lone Moon glared at Foodie Shen. I don't want to help you carry your things. You should have said so earlier. Let's go. Shen stood up quickly, grabbed Bai Zhe and rushed out without looking back. I haven't had seafood in a long time. Wait. Lone Moon called out anxiously. Don't forget what we just said. Now. Got it. A reply came from the other side, and the figure completely disappeared. Lone Moon narrowed his eyes and sat back down. A while later, a certain chef walked out with a dish in each hand. He glanced at the empty seat and was stunned for a moment. Where's Master? He didn't even eat lunch. This was the first time. Lone Moon looked up at him. He was abducted by an octopus. I Ching's face darkened. Why didn't you stop Master? Why should I stop her? Lone Moon asked in return. He looked at Chef, who looked like he wanted to kill someone. Something flashed across his eyes and he sighed. AI, a grown girl can't be kept at home. Instantly, I Ching's face darkened. He wanted to kill beasts. Bai Zhe brought Shen to a huge lake. The lake water was so clear that one could see the bottom, like a sapphire falling onto the ground. The lake was so big that one couldn't even see the end of it. Furball, how do we catch it? Shen Ying's eyes brightened as a list of aquatic products flashed across her mind. Should I drain the water? Bai Zhe was stunned by her sparkling eyes. He blushed again and turned his head away as if he was scalded. Wait a minute. As he spoke, he took 2 quick steps and stopped at the side of the water. He conjured a seal, and a light flashed. A series of bubbles appeared on the surface of the lake. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the water. A middle-aged man floated on the surface of the water. He was dressed in black, but his lower body had octopus legs covered with suction cups. This was that octopus. 1,000 Claws greets the supreme divinity. The man bowed respectfully to Bai Zhe and swam to the shore while twisting his numerous legs. Bai Zhe nodded and regained his cold demeanor. He stretched out his hand and said, Give it to me. Supreme divinity, you finally made up your mind to clean up the demonic beasts in this lake. 1,000 Legs was overjoyed and excited. 1,000 Leaf Lake was just below White Cloud Mountain. Many demonic beasts had appeared in the water. Although they were all mutated aquatic beasts without sentience, there were too many of them. What's more, they would occasionally attack the gremlins that passed by. As time went by, no one dared to come here anymore. Some people begged the Supreme Divinity to help. But for some reason, the Supreme Divinity could not make up his mind to clean them up. He only sent 1,000 Legs to guard the lake, to prevent the demonic beasts from hurting people. Now that the Supreme Divinity finally decided to get involved, 1,000 Legs felt energized. He hurriedly stretched out his hand and plucked a strand of hair. The strand of hair instantly turned into a wriggling octopus leg. He handed it over with both hands. Supreme Divinity, I'm ready. Bai Zhe took it and turned to hand it to Shen. Fishing? How? Shening glanced at the octopus leg that was thicker than a thigh. She only knew how to eat. This leg was suitable for barbecuing. Exalted goddess. Thousand Legs hurriedly explained. Demonic beasts are most familiar with my aura. As long as you throw this into the water, you will naturally be able to lure them out. Shening took the octopus leg and turned to ask, won't it hurt? Although he had many legs. Thousand Legs laughed. Exalted goddess, you worry too much. This is formed from my hair. It only carries my aura. It's not a real leg. Oh. She threw it into the water, and instantly flew a few hundred meters away. Just as it was about to fall into the water, the originally calm lake surface suddenly turned into a huge wave. Tens of huge black fish broke through the water. Their green scales shone with a golden light when the sun shone on them. The one at the front bit the octopus leg and fell into the water. As if they had discovered the people on the shore, they turned and rushed over. The waves on the lake were instantly more than 100 feet high. One could faintly see hundreds of pairs of blood-red eyes staring at them. Oh no, it's actually a school of green sand demonic fish. Thousand Legs was shocked. This type of demonic fish usually lived in schools. There were tens to hundreds of them in a school. They were huge and very ferocious. Supreme Divinity, why don't we? Before he could finish, Baizé just raised his hand and waved. In an instant, tens of thousands of wind blades flew toward the waves and hit the school of demonic fish. In the next moment, the huge waves subsided. A school of human-sized fish floated on the surface of the lake. Thousand Legs. As expected of a supreme divinity, Shening had already rushed over excitedly to pick up the fish. She grabbed one fish with each hand. There were so many fish. She had to get Chef to boil them, steam them, roast them, and grill them one by one. Furball, this method of yours is really effective. Baizé's face turned red. He hurriedly followed, and then silently took out a storage bag and handed it over. Shenying's eyes lit up. She took it and patted his shoulder hard. With a serious expression she said, I like people like you who know what to do. With that said, she opened the storage bag and started stuffing fish into it. Baizé's entire body froze. The redness on his face and his black hair were instantly dyed red. He vaguely felt something explode, and his mind went blank. She just said like? Oh, ***, Q after a long time. He finally replied in a low voice. Me too. Chapter 263. Shening had collected most of the fish. The storage bag that Furball gave her seemed to be especially big. Even after collecting more than 100 fish, it was still not full. Furball, are there any other aquatic products? The man, who had been frozen for a long time, finally regained his composure and nodded. Yes. With that said, he flew up into the sky, clenched his fists by his side and reached out to Shening. I'll bring you there. All right. Shening jumped onto the cloud. Let's go. Baizé retracted his hand in disappointment. Shening turned to Thousand Legs. That fish bait? Octopus? What's that again? Thousand Legs, Baizé reminded. Oh brother Thousand Legs. Let's go. Don't fall behind. Thousand Legs. She called him fish bait just now. She definitely did, right? Supreme Divinity, are you really here to clean up the aquatic demonic beasts? But why are you collecting the corpses of the demonic beasts? Some demonic beasts that don't even have inner cores are useless to bring back. Thousand Legs followed her with a confused look. But the same thing happened again. He pulled out his hair to attract the demonic beasts, and then the Supreme Divinity killed them. The two of them happily went down to pick up the corpses, and they didn't even ask for his help. This happened many times until they went around the entire lake. Thousand Legs suddenly had a scary guess. Supreme Divinity didn't clean up the demonic beasts in the lake all these years. Was she purposely keeping them, so that this exalted goddess could come and pick up the corpses? No, my Supreme Divinity definitely doesn't have such a hobby. It must be an illusion. An hour later. Supreme Divinity. Thousand Legs said weakly. Why don't we stop here for today? Baizé finally turned to look at him. Are the demonic beasts in the lake all gone? No. The demonic beasts are not all gone, but I'm almost done pulling out my hair. Pulling out 1 or 2 strands of hair at a time was nothing. It didn't affect his cultivation, and he usually lost quite a lot of hair. But he couldn't keep pulling it out. If this went on, he would really go bald. Bai Zai. Shenning glanced at his obviously shiny head and coughed. Then let's go back. Chef should be done cooking. All right. Bai Zai turned to fly back. Wait, Shenning suddenly spoke. She divided the storage bags in her hands into 3 equal portions and handed them to Thousand Legs. Here, yours. Thousand Legs glanced at the bag with a dumbfounded expression. What was this for? Dismemberment? Or a threat? The 1,000 Claws is from the Water Tribe. These demonic beasts do not have spiritual intelligence and do not have inner dawn, so they are useless to him, Bai Zai explained. So, he doesn't eat seafood? Shenning paused. After thinking for a while, she reached into her pocket and took out a pearl. She handed it to Thousand Legs and said, "Why don't I give you this? Chef gave it to me. He has no use for it, but you should be able to use it." This is a dragon ball. Thousand Claw's eyes widened and he rubbed his eyes. Only a natural-born true dragon would be born with a dragon pearl, which was used for inheritance. Although the divine power inside the dragon pearl was no longer useful to the dragon tribe, it was a treasure to the other water tribe. Although the water tribe had the possibility of cultivating to become a true dragon, not everyone had this opportunity. With the dragon pearl, things would be much easier. Exalted goddess, you really want to give it to me? Thousand Legs was stunned by this huge surprise. You don't want it? Chef said that the pearl was very bright and useful, so he gave her a few. There was still a pile of them. Thousand Legs immediately bowed. Thank you, exalted goddess. Here. Shenning stuffed the pearl into his hands. Thousand Legs was very touched. Indeed, the supreme divinity knew all good gods. Exalted goddess, don't worry, your hair will grow back. Shenning thought about it and added, Air. Could she not mention hair? Goodbye, brother Fishbait. He really wasn't called Fishbait. Bai Zai did not stay any longer. He took Shenning and flew away on a cloud. He was extremely fast. In a moment, he had already flown across the entire lake and was flying towards the top right corner. Halfway there, he suddenly thought of something and said hesitantly, I have a pearl too. Do you want it? Oh, can it glow? No, it can. Then I don't want it. Bai Zai lowered his head sadly. I mean for ball. Are you lost? They did not fly for so long when they just arrived. Bai Zai stiffened. A hint of panic flashed across his face. After a while he said, No. Oh. Shenning did not mind. She continued to look at the bag of aquatic products with satisfaction. Bai Zai heaved a sigh of relief. With a thought, he sped up and flew upward. In a short while he saw the hall in the clouds. They had come out from the front hall, but now they were at the back of the mountain. He brought Shenning directly to a place in the back palace that was covered by auspicious clouds. This was a sea of flowers. Pure white jade-like flowers were blooming all over the place. Each flower seemed to be exquisitely carved, and they even carried a faintly discernible fragrance. The flowers were surrounded by thick god power. It was almost tangible. From afar, it looked like they were blooming on a blue god power. Do you like it? Bai Zai asked nervously. He looked straight into Shen Ying's eyes, as if this was a very important question. What? Shen Ying was a little curious why he suddenly stopped flying. She looked at the sea of flowers in front of her and realized that he was asking about flowers. It's all right. Ever since Invincible Sect planted a radish that liked to give people dandelions, she had a strange feeling when she saw all the flowers. So much so that she had the illusion that the ground was full of radishes. And they were the kind that were naked. This is a black spirit flower. His eyes became even brighter, as if his eyes were filled with stars. After I came back, I planted a lot. For you. Oh, what did it have to do with them going home for dinner? Bai Zai's face was already completely red. He tried his best to resist the urge to turn around. Suddenly, as if he had made up his mind about something, he bent down and picked the prettiest flower and handed it over. Shen Ying. For me? Yes. He nodded vigorously. His eyes became even brighter. He looked at her closely, as if afraid of missing something. Even the hand that was holding the flower was trembling. For you. Shening subconsciously reached out. Just as she was about to take it, her hand suddenly stopped less than half a centimeter away from the flower. She tilted her head and asked. For Ball? Yes. This flower isn't for you to propose to me, is it? Oh Q boom. There was a faint sound of something exploding. 4 hours later, the moon was in the middle of the sky, in the side palace of White Cloud Mountain. A certain someone summoned a sword that was overflowing with cold chi. His whole body exploded with a strong murderous aura. I'm going to kill that little bitch. I Ching turned and rushed out. Chapter 264. Holy shit. Chef, what are you doing? Longmun's eyes and hands were sharp, and he pulled him back. Move aside. Let me kill that little bitch who dared to flirt with Master. I Ching's murderous aura seemed to be uncontrollable. He began to attack indiscriminately. If Longmun was not prepared, he would have knocked Longmun away. What's the rush? At least listen to what I have to say. Longmun used a spell to press I Ching back into the chair. He turned to glare at the person in question who was calmly eating her fruit. And then, did you agree to Baize? No. Shening shook her head. Longmun heaved a sigh of relief. I Ching also relaxed. You rejected him? Not really. What the hell? The corner of Longmun's mouth twitched. When did you learn to flirt with such a green TB*TCH's skills? I wanted to say it, but after I said that, he covered his face and ran away, abandoning me. Shening looked innocent. She ran like a rabbit, the red kind. I couldn't even stop him. I walked around for a long time before I found my way back. She didn't even make it for lunch. Longmun. So this was the reason why she missed lunch, and could only make it for dinner? Because she spent 4 hours to find her way back. Chef, is dinner ready? Shening looked at I Ching. She walked around the back hall for the whole afternoon. She was so hungry. Master. Unexpectedly, Chef did not turn and rush into the kitchen for the first time. Instead, he said seriously, you must not agree to this. You are pure, and do not know the human heart. Divine hearts are sinister. Don't be fooled by Baize. Although he did help us, you are the one who helped him return to the divine realm. That's repayment. Air. She just wanted to eat. Master, we just arrived in the divine realm. We don't know much about this place. Don't trust people easily. The more I Ching spoke, the more serious he became. What's more, you've only known him for a few days, and he's already willing to marry you. It's obvious that he's a frivolous person. But dinner? How long have you known him? It's too rash to decide to marry him so casually. And he's a divine being. Don't you always say that different races cannot fall in love? Dinner? I don't think there are many good people in the god world. The god race isn't reliable at all. Look at Feng San and Long Zhen. Just because of a small misunderstanding, they could suspect each other for tens of thousands of years. It can be seen that they are not sentimental people by nature. Shening. Longmun. You even ridiculed yourself. Does your family know? Besides, with Master's high cultivation, how could a mere Baize of the god race be worthy of you? In any case, I don't agree to this. I won't let anyone get close to you. His face was serious, and he gripped the sword in his hand tightly, as if he was about to rush out and kill someone. Shening paused and turned to look at this righteous man. Her eyes darkened. I Ching. Master. Why don't you like people approaching me? I Ching paused, as if he had been asked the right question. A moment later he murmured. Because you are my master. Oh. She narrowed her eyes. What if I take in a few more disciples? No. I Ching's expression changed as he blurted out. Why? Because. He did not want to. But he could not bring himself to say the last few words. His entire person was stunned. He felt a sense of panic in his heart, as if something that he had deliberately ignored was about to surge out and drown him. Longmun, who had been sitting at the side watching the show, shook his head and sighed. He could not help but step forward and pat a certain fool's shoulder. All right, you must be tired after looking for her for the whole day. Go back and rest. Don't worry. Who in this world can trick your master? She knows what she's doing. I Ching stared blankly at Lone Moon, then at Shining. He was chased out with a confused look on his face. He did not seem to have recovered at all. Like a wandering spirit, he walked in the direction of his residence. Lone Moon then glanced sideways at a certain person who was sprawled on the table lazily. What you're doing is a little unkind. Shining glanced at him. Unkind if I don't say. He choked, as if thinking of something. His expression changed. All right, that's even more unkind. Then what are you thinking? I can't be bothered to think about that. You are really too lazy. Laziness was out of style. Shining swirled the teacup in her hand and murmured softly. Who asked the holidays to be ending soon? What? Nothing, Father Nyo. Do you really not have any hidden food? Daughter, I'm so hungry. Get lost. I don't have a lazy daughter like you. No matter what you decide, I'm not going to interfere in this matter. You can handle it yourself. Lone Moon pursed his lips. After a while he added, but take it easy. It's been so many years. Lone Moon then set up an isolation array and closed the door. He sat back at the table. Let's talk business. You went out to observe for a day. How was it? Did you find anything? Did you find out? Shining glanced at him lazily. I guess so? What do you mean by I guess so? Only then did he sit up, and with a flick of his hand, he threw a few bulging storage pouches on the table. What's this? Lone Moon picked one up and subconsciously tore it open. A huge fishtail suddenly shot out from the bag and hit him in the face. There was a loud smack in the room. Lone Moon. Where's my knife? There are too many small animals inside. Be careful. Shining hurriedly added. What's the F** point of saying that now? Lone Moon directly threw the storage bag in his hand back at her face. She did it on purpose, she definitely did it. Don't waste it, Father Nyo. Shining caught it and stuffed the fishtail back. It's not spoiled. It can still be eaten. Where did you catch these things? Lone Moon glared at her. And they're all demonic beasts that can only be barbecued. In the lake at the foot of the mountain. At the foot of the mountain. Lone Moon stood up abruptly. His expression changed. You mean? We guessed correctly. Furball is also problematic. Shining nodded. His cultivation seems to be fine. Maybe he didn't even realize it himself. Lone Moon's expression darkened. His brows were almost in a dead knot. After a moment of silence, he could not help but curse. Shit. This is getting more and more troublesome. What should I do? Should I tell them now? I'm so tired. Shining continued to lean on the table. Indeed, using my brain is so troublesome. Father Nyo, did you really not hide anything? I feel like I'm running out of blood. I need some milk. Get lost. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. You've only been out for half a day. Little Shorty should be able to come out from the spirit spring tomorrow. We should still let them know about this. I'll call them over tomorrow. With that said, he removed the isolation array around them. Just as he was about to step out of the room, he stopped. Damn it. He cursed under his breath and turned back to the table. He took out more than 10 bowls of rice, vegetables, pastries and fruits from his storage bag and placed them all over the table. Leftovers from lunch. Eat, eat, eat. Eat until you die. With that said, he turned and left. Shining. Father Nyo's way of doting on his daughter was indeed very special. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.